Mansions are symbols of wealth and power, but behind their grand facades can lurk shadows that never rest. Across the United States, countless mansions have witnessed tragedy, betrayal, and murder, leaving behind spirits that refuse to leave. Tonight, we journey through 25 of the most terrifying haunted mansions in the U.S., where footsteps echo through empty halls, doors slam without reason, and the past refuses to stay buried. Keep your eyes open, your courage steady, and your flashlight closure. Because in these haunted halls, the living are never truly alone. The Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California, has long stood as one of America's most bewildering and paranormally charged mansions, a sprawling labyrinth built on fear, superstition, and the restless vision of Sarah Winchester. For decades, visitors, caretakers, and paranormal investigators have walked its twisting corridors and felt the undeniable weight of unseen eyes watching from the shadows. The mansion is a place where footsteps echo in empty rooms, where cold drafts brush past without explanation, and where the architecture itself seems to breathe, shift, and react to those wandering within. Sarah Winchester, heiress to the Winchester rifle fortune, began expanding the mansion in 1884 after suffering the tragic loss of her husband and infant daughter. According to legend, she believed she was cursed by the spirits of those killed by the Winchester rifles. A medium told her that the only way to fend off these angry souls was to build a constantly in Leslia. And so she did. For 38 years, day and night, construction never stopped. Hallways twisted into dead ends. Staircases rose into ceilings. Doors opened to sudden drops several stories high. The house grew like a living puzzle, defying logic and safety. Visitors today claim that even after construction ended, the spirits never left. Many report the eerie sensation of invisible entities walking beside them, faint impressions of a presence that keeps pace but never reveals itself. Some describe hearing the soft tap of footsteps behind, theme of measured, human, and closure only to turn and find no one there. These phantom walkers seem to drift through the home as if following old routines, tracing steps worn into floors long before any modern visitor arrived. Throughout the mansion, staircases leading nowhere are one of its most iconic features. Some ascend sharply only to end abruptly at a blank wall. Others curve in graceful arcs before stopping at a boarded-up landing. People who climb them often feel an overwhelming sense of disorientation, as though the house itself is redirecting them. It's not uncommon for guests to report that these staircases shift in subtle ways when no one is looking. Angles that feel slightly different, steps that seem steeper or narrower on the way back down, or landings that feel just a few inches farther than they should be. Whether it's an illusion born of the home's strange design or something more, many leave those flights of stairs convinced that they weren't quite the same as when they first stepped on them. Even more unsettling is the claim that the rooms sometimes change layout overnight. Caretakers working the late shift have opened a familiar door only to find a completely different interior than they expected. A bedroom becomes a storage space. A hallway that should lead to the central tower instead leads to a shallow closet. Workers have sworn that furniture they placed carefully the night before was moved by morning, often rearranged into strange and deliberate patterns. Those who have spent enough time inside insist the mansion rearranges itself not dramatically, but subtly, like something shifting in its sleep. The most frequently reported presence is that of Sarah Winchester herself. Many believe she never left the mansion she poured her life into. Some see her as a guardian spirit, watching over the home she built with obsessive care. Others sense a more restless energy, a soul still burdened by the guilt and fear that drove her to create such a bizarre structure. Witnesses claim to see a faint figure in a black Victorian dress drifting through the hallways. Sometimes she appears at the top of the staircase, only to vanish when approached. Others report seeing her silhouette behind the fog glass of the S.A. with Tilda copyright Ant's room, the heart of the mansion where she supposedly communicated with the spirits that dictated her nightly building plans. Staff members working after hours have seen a woman fitting Sarah's description standing silently in doorways, observing them. When they speak or move toward her, she dissolves into shadow, There's also the phenomenon of doors to no area, dozens of them scattered throughout the house. Some open to sheer drops into the gardens below. Others reveal empty wall space. Visitors describe feeling drawn to these doors, sensing a strange pull as though something on the other side is waiting. A few even claim they heard whispers urging them to open a door they knew was unsafe. In the darker corridors, cold spots linger like pockets of frozen air. They appear suddenly, often accompanied by the unmistakable sensation that someone is standing close enough to touch. Paranormal investigators have captured audio of faint voices near these doorways, murmuring unintelligible words or calling out softly from behind the walls. Electronic equipment frequently malfunctions in these areas, batteries draining in minutes or cameras shutting down without warning. Investigators consider these cold zones of Mansiona as spiritual hotspots, where energy gathers and the veil feels thinnest. Despite the frightening encounters and inexplicable occurrences, there is something strangely captivating about the Winchester Mystery House. It feels like a place suspended between worlds, a physical manifestation of sorrow, obsession, and spiritual tension. Visitors leave not only with stories, but with a lingering sense that part of the house followed them home, an echo of footsteps, a dream of endless hallways, or the image of Sarah Winchester wandering eternally through the maze she created. The house remains one of the most mysterious and haunted locations in America, not simply because of the spirits rumored to reside within, but because the mansion itself seems alive, constantly shifting, watching, and remembering every soul that steps through its crooked doors. The Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana, is often described as one of the most haunted places in the American South. A grand estate steeped in tragic history, whispered legends, and unsettling encounters that countless visitors claim cannot be explained. The plantation has a sweeping veranda, moss-draped oaks, and carefully preserved rooms offer a peaceful section ade. But beneath that quiet beauty lies an atmosphere thick with stories of suffering, betrayal, and restless spirits who have never truly left. Those who walk the grounds often describe a strange heaviness in the air, a tense stillness that settles over property the moment one steps through the wrought iron gates. Some say it feels as though the land itself is watching, as if the echoes of the past still linger in the soil. The stories of the ghosts have become so intertwined with the plantation's identity that it is nearly impossible to separate its history from its hauntings. Among the most famous entities said to roam the Myrtles are the spirits of former slaves. Visitors have reported seeing figures in old-fashioned work clothes. Drifting between the trees, their outlines faint and translucent. Others hear whispered, singing near the old slave quarters. Soft voices rising and falling in rhythmic patterns, as though carrying on songs from long ago. The sorrow embedded in those melodies leaves many visitors with chills they struggle to shake off. Inside the main house, shadowy figures dressed in period clothing appear most often in hallways, at the foot of the staircase, or near the fireplace in the grand parlor. They rarely interact with the living, instead moving as if unaware of the modern world around them. Some guests describe seeing a tall man in a dark suit pacing near the billiards room, stopping occasionally to glance out a window as though expecting someone. Others have seen a woman in a hoop skirt glide across the landing, her footsteps completely silent. These figures tend to vanish when approached, leaving only a lingering cold spot in the space where they stood. One of the most chilling and frequently reported phenomena at the Myrtles involves unusual appearances in photographs. Many visitors snap pictures around the property, only to discover later that an extra face or full figure has appeared in the frame. People who were in a tea present when the picture was taken. Some images reveal a child peeking from behind a column, while others show a man standing in a doorway, staring directly at the camera. The plantation has collected dozens of these images over the years, adding to its reputation as a hotspot for supernatural activity. But the most infamous spirit of all is the spectral woman said to wander the halls every night, the ghost with the green turban. The legend tells of Chloe, an enslaved woman who lived on the plantation over a century ago. According to the story, she met a tragic end, and her spirit has been seen countless times since. Visitors describe encountering a figure dressed in a long skirt and wearing a distinctive green head wrap. Her form is said to shimmer in the dim light of the plantation's antique lamps. Those who claim to have seen her say she moves with a gliding grace. Her expression, when visible, is often described as sorrowful and distant, as though she is searching for something she lost long ago. She appears most often near the Childrena's bedrooms, where some visitors say they have heard soft humming, or the faint rustle of skirts brushing against old wooden floors. Occasionally, people have reported waking in the middle of the night feeling the edge of their bed dip as though someone has sat beside them. When they open their eyes, they catch a fleeting glimpse of the woman in the green turban before she dissolves into darkness. In the dining room, cold drafts move unpredictably, sweeping through the space even when all the windows are tightly shut. Chairs sometimes scrape against the floor, as if pulled by unseen hands. Silverware has been found rearranged without explanation. Paranormal investigators who have spent nights on the property report capturing strange sounds on audio devicesa, muffled conversations, footsteps, and even the quiet sobbing of an unseen woman. The old mirror in the hallway is another focal point of eerie activity. Visitors have seen smudged handprints appear on its surface, lingering even after the glass is cleaned. Others report that their own reflections seem distorted, as if someone else is standing just behind them in the frame. This mirror is often associated with sorrowful legends from the plantation's past, and those who dare to stare at it too long describe an overwhelming sense of being watched. Some guests walking the property after sunset have reported hearing the faint clatter of horse hooves on gravel, though no horses have lived on the plantation for many years. Lantern lights have been seen flickering in the distance, moving slowly across the lawn, before vanishing abruptly. Despite all these strange encounters, the Myrtles plantation draws thousands of visitors each year, many hoping to catch even a glimpse of the supernatural activity that has made the site so legendary. Those who leave often carry with them a lasting impression not just of ghosts and shadows, but of a place where history refuses to fade, where the sorrows and secrets of the past linger in every room, every corridor, and every breath of wind that sweeps through the ancient oaks. The Biltmore Estate in Asheville, North Carolina, may be celebrated as America's largest private home, a masterpiece of elegance and architectural brilliance. But beneath its grand section lies a quiet undercurrent of strange encounters and ghostly whispers that have puzzled guests and staff for decades. The sprawling estate, with its sweeping staircases, opulent rooms, and endless hallways, seems to hold memories of the past that refuse to fade. Some believe the spirits of long-gone servants still walk the corridors. Others insist that the Estatia's majestic ballroom hosts late-night visitors from another world, unseen yet undeniably present. Visitors often describe an immediate sense of awe when they step inside, but for some, that awe is accompanied by an inexplicable feeling of being watched. It begins subtly, like a shift in the air, a cold sweep across the skin, or the quiet impression that someone is standing just behind them. These sensations tend to emerge most strongly in the older wings of the mansion, especially in the servant corridors hidden behind ornate paneling. These narrow hallways, once bustling with quiet footsteps, whispers, and hurried movements, now sit unused and dim. Yet many who walk them today claim they can still hear faint echoes of those who worked in the estate long ago. Guests have reported the unmistakable sound of footsteps following them through the servant passages, only for the steps to stop the moment they turn around. Others have described seeing the shadowy outline of a maid or footman moving around a corner, their clothing resembling the uniforms worn during George Vanderbilt's era. These apparitions never speak. They glide silently, focused on tasks long forgotten by the living. Staff members who work closing shifts say they occasionally pass by these figures, believing them to be reenactors or other employees, until they realize the figure has disappeared into a wall or vanished before turning another corner. The Grand Ballroom, one of the most breathtaking rooms in the estate, is another source of eerie accounts. During the day, its towering ceilings and massive fireplace inspire admiration. But late at night, the room becomes strangely active. Security guards performing rounds have heard faint music drifting from the ballroom, as though a ghostly orchestra is tuning its instruments. Soft laughter has been heard echoing against the marble floors, and some guards swear to have seen fluttering chapeza like skirts or coat tiles moving across the room. When the lights flicker on, the room always stands empty, yet the impression of a lingering presence remains. Visitors touring the estate have captured strange glimmers of light in their photographs of the ballroom, as small orbs hovering above the floor or streaking across the image. Those who spend long enough in the room describe feeling a gentle pressure on their shoulders, as though someone is standing close beside them. A few sensitive guests report sensing a crowd despite the silence, a residue of past parties where hundreds of elegantly dressed guests once danced beneath the glow of chandeliers. Throughout the Biltmore, another recurring phenomenon is the flickering of lights in empty rooms. While old wiring might be the simplest explanation, many who work there argue the timing and patterns are too deliberate to dismiss. In the library, lights have been known to brighten suddenly when someone speaks aloud, as if addressing the space. The guest rooms on the upper floor sometimes have lamps that turn off one by one, as if someone is walking past them, touching each switch. Some caretakers claim they have locked rooms securely at night, only to return in the morning to find the lights burning brightly and the furniture slightly shifted, as though someone had been sitting there during the night. The whispers might be the most unsettling of all the STTS hauntings. They occur in quiet corridors, in the stairwells, and in the long hallways that stretch across the second and third floors. Visitors walking alone have heard soft voices murmuring behind Thema, too faint to understand, yet unmistakably human. These whispers often sound like distant conversations, snippets of emotion rather than clear words. A few guests have described hearing their own names whispered, followed by the sensation of warm breath against their ear, even though no one else was there. Tour guides who lock up after hours say they sometimes hear someone whispering from the direction of the library, though every time they check, they find only silence. One of the most frequently mentioned presences is that of a former servant, believed to linger in the kitchens and surrounding workspaces. People have seen the apparition of a man dressed in old-fashioned work clothes, standing near the massive brick ovens, his expression stern and focused. Staff have also reported hearing pots clattering or utensils shifting even when the kitchens are completely empty. The estate's gardens and grounds are not exempt from supernatural reports. On misty mornings, visitors have claimed to see figures walking among the hedges or standing near the fountains. These figures are always silent, watching the landscape, and vanish the moment one tries to approach. Nighttime workers near the stables have heard footsteps crunching on gravel and the sounds of whispered conversations coming from empty paths. Despite the grandeur and beauty of the Biltmore estate, the lingering energy of the past remains deeply woven into its walls. The estate was home not only to the Vanderbilt family, but to countless workers who lived. Whether these spirits remain out of loyalty, duty, or some unresolved connection is a mystery. But one thing is certain. The Biltmore estate, for all its elegance, is a place where the past is still very much Olivia, moving quietly in the shadows, whispering down empty halls, and flickering through grand rooms that once echoed with life. The Amityville Mansion in Amityville, New York, has long been a symbol of dread, woven tightly into American folklore as one of the most infamous haunted houses in the country. The quiet suburban street where it sits seems ordinary enough, but the moment anyone steps near the property, an unshakable heaviness settles over them. The mansion carries a dark legacy dating back to the alleged murders of the 1970s, a tragedy that stained its walls with fear and mystery. Ever since, countless reports of paranormal phenomena have emerged, turning the house into an enduring enigma that continues to terrify those who dare to approach. People who have stood in front of the home often say they feel as though they are being watched from the upper windows. Even when the house is empty, shadowy figures have been seen peering through the glass of dark silhouettes that linger just long enough to be noticed before slipping out of sight. These figures don't move like normal people. They appear suddenly, staring down as though studying the living, then vanish the moment anyone looks directly at them. Some witnesses have described the figures as tall and thin, while others insist they saw multiple shapes clustered together, as if the house itself is filled with restless observers. Inside, the atmosphere grows far more suffocating. The house is a way of pressing against the senses, turning every room into a quiet trap of dread. Visitors recount smelling foul odors that drift suddenly through hallways of thick, sour scents with no identifiable source. The stench comes and goes like a passing breeze, lingering just long enough to spark nausea and fear. No matter how often the space is cleaned, the odor always returns, drawn from corners of the house no one can locate. Some describe it as rotting flesh, others as sulfur, and a few claim it is accompanied by the sensation of something unseen standing directly behind them. Objects moving on their own have become one of the most frequent and unnerving reports from a mansion. Chairs scrape loudly across the floor when no one is in the room. Books tumble from shelves in the middle of the night, landing in perfect patterns that feel intentionally arranged rather than random. Lights flicker, and appliances power on without being touched. Some visitors have witnessed doors slamming shut with such force the entire frame trembled, even though no draft or human hand could have caused it. There are also accounts of furniture shaking violently for several seconds before going still, leaving witnesses frozen in terror. Paranormal investigators who enter the Amityville mansion often experience extreme temperature drops, even when the heating is on full blast. These cold spots are not gentle shifts in temperature, but sudden, icy plummets, sharp enough to leave breath visible in the air. These pockets of freezing air move unpredictably, drifting through hallways or settling in corners as though an invisible presence is gliding through the space. Investigators describe the sensation as standing directly in the path of something that is both cold and watching, a focused chill that clings to the skin until the entity moves away. Some teams have reported audible whispers caught on their recording devices. These whispers often contain fragmented words, sometimes saying the names of those present or muttering incoherent phrases that resemble pleas, warnings, or anger. During investigations, knocks and tapping sounds frequently echo through the walls, sometimes in rhythmic patterns that appear to respond to questions. Footsteps are also kimono-heavy pacing that moves up and down the stairs long after midnight. These steps are slow, deliberate, and unnervingly human. One of the most disturbing forms of activity reported is poltergeist-like behavior. Objects have been hurled across rooms with violent force. Picture frames fall not downward but outward, as though pushed. Some investigators have narrowly avoided being struck by items thrown at alarming speeds. These aggressive incidents often occur after periods of silence, as if something in the house stirs and erupts without warning. Those who have experienced it describe an overwhelming presence, a burst of rage that fills a room before disappearing just as suddenly. The basement of the Amityville mansion is considered the most active area. Many who enter claim the air becomes thick and difficult to breathe, as though pressing down on their lungs. Visitors have heard guttural growls echoing from dark corners, even when no animals are present. Shadows shift along the walls, twisting into shapes that seem almost human before dissolving. Some refuse to stay in the basement for more than a few seconds, convinced they are not alone. Those who linger often report a sense of being pulled, not physically but mentally, as if the house is urging them to stay. Even those who simply pass by the exterior at night have sensed a strange energy. Some describe the windows appearing darker than they should be, like deep, endless voids rather than glass panes. The house seems to absorb light rather than reflect it, giving off an eerie impression even under streetlights. People walking past often feel compelled to glance back, certain someone or something is watching from within. Despite the decades that have passed since the tragic events of the 1970s, the Amityville mansion remains a place where the past refuses to rest. Its rooms hold secrets, its hallways remember horrors, and its walls seem alive with echoes of suffering. Whether the spirits that linger are tied to the tragedy or drawn by the fear created is unknown. But those who have felt the cold spots, heard the whispers, or seen the dark figures in the windows carry with them a chilling certainty. The Amityville Mansion is very much awake, and it is far from empty. The Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri, stands as one of America's most sorrow-laden homes, a place where tragedy seeped into the walls and refused to leave. Once the luxurious residence of the wealthy Lemp familia, owners of a booming brewing empire, the mansion now carries a heavy legacy of multiple suicides, financial collapse, and emotional torment. Its grand Victorian architecture and antique furnishings cannot disguise the atmosphere of despair that lingers beneath the surface. Visitors who walk its hallways often describe the unsettling sensation that the house remembers its past, and that the spirits of those who suffer within still wander through the dimly lit rooms. From the moment guests step inside, the air feels unnaturally cold, as though some invisible presence sweeps past to greet them. The mansiona's interior, filled with ornate wooden carving and elaborate fixtures, exudes elegance. But many visitors say the beauty is overshadowed by a growing sense of heaviness. Ida asks as if the house itself is grieving. As they move from room to room, especially in areas associated with the Lemp familia's darkest moments. The patriarch who ended his life in the mansion after the death of his beloved son, appearing as a hazy, shadow-like figure with broad shoulders. Guests have described seeing him standing silently at the top of the stairs, watching them with a presence that feels both mournful and intimidating. When approached, the figure dissipates into the air, leaving behind only a cold draft that trickles down the back of the neck. Shadowy figures are a recurring theme throughout the mansion. They roam the hallways, glide past doorways, and appear momentarily in mirrors before vanishing. These shadows lack distinct features and move silently, but their presence is always unmistakable. Visitors have felt the sensation of being followed, only to turn and see a dark form slipping out of sight. Some claim they have seen a shadow figure sit briefly on the edge of a bed or lean against a doorframe, as though observing them. Even the most skeptical guests find themselves glancing over their shoulders as the feeling of being watched grows stronger with each step. One of the most haunted rooms is believed to be the suite where Elsa Lemp, the only daughter of the family, once lived. Her life was filled with turmoil, and she also died tragically, though the details remain debated. Visitors staying in this room have woken in the middle of the night to the sound of soft weeping, though no one else was present. Others report feeling the mattress shift beside them, as though someone had sat down or lay next to them. Occasionally, a faint scent of lilac perfume drifts through the room, a fragrance Elsa was known to wear. In the lower levels of the mansion lies the wine cellar, a sprawling underground space connected to the old brewery tunnels. This area is notorious for unexplained noises of whispers, clinking bottles, and heavy footsteps echoing to the cavern-like rooms. Workers have reported hearing a low, rhythmic tapping, as though someone is gently knocking on the walls from the other side. Some investigators have captured audio recordings of muffled conversations and deep sighs, despite being completely alone. One of the eeriest accounts comes from a staff member who witnessed a wine rack trembling violently, even though there was no draft or seismic activity in the area. The bottles rattled in their places for several seconds before everything went still again. The oppressive feeling many describe becomes particularly strong in the basement. The air grows colder, and a sense of dread settles over anyone who steps inside. People have experienced sudden chills, even in the heat of summer, and some report feeling a pressure on their shoulders, like a heavy hand resting there. A few visitors have abruptly turned back, overwhelmed by a sense of impending danger. Others have described hearing their own names whispered softly in the dark, a sound that echoes through the empty space and leaves them shaken. Another spirit believed to roam the mansion is that of a young boy known only as Ezekiel, said to have lived in isolation due to physical deformities. Sightings of Zeke usually occur near the attic, where visitors have seen the figure of a small child, peering from behind furniture or darting across the hallway. His footsteps, light and quick, can sometimes be heard overhead, accompanied by faint giggles that turn eerily quiet without warning. Some guests have left small toys behind during tours, only to return later and find them moved or placed in different positions, as if a child had been playing with them. The dining room, once a place of lavish meals and rich conversation, is now known for its chilling encounters. Guests seated at the table have felt something brush past their legs or tug lightly at their clothing. Silverware occasionally shifts on its own, sliding slowly across the tablecloth as though nudged by unseen hands. Some have captured strange mists or orbs in photographs taken in the room, even though nothing unusual was visible to the naked eye. Despite its tragic past and the overwhelming sense of sorrow that permeates the atmosphere, visitors are drawn not only by curiosity but by a desire to understand the echoes of a once powerful family consumed by despair. The house stands as a haunting reminder that emotional wounds can linger long after death, imprinting themselves onto the walls, the floors, and the very air. For many who enter, the experience is unforgettable. Long after leaving, they recall the cold drafts, the shadowy figures, the mysterious sounds, and the oppressive feelings that wrapped around them in the silent, heavy rooms. The Lemp Mansion continues to live in the memories of those who encounter Ida, a place where spirits remain, wandering restlessly through the halls of the home they once knew, unable or unwilling to let go of the tragedy that bound them there. The Bellamy Mansion in Wilmington, North Carolina, stands tall and elegant, its grand white columns and sweeping verandas casting long shadows across the historic grounds. By day, the estate is a testament to antebellum architecture, a preserved relic of Southern sophistication. But once visitors step inside, the atmosphere changes. Beneath the polished floors and restored furnishings lies a deeper presencia unseen, watchful, and undeniably alive with echoes of its past. Over the years, countless guests have reported encounters that defy explanation. Ghostly figures in windows, faint music drifting from empty rooms, and sudden drops in temperature that steal the breath from Oni's lungs. The Bellamy Mansion is beautiful, but beauty here is only the surface of something far more mysterious. Visitors often begin noticing the unexplained before they even enter. While standing in the gardens, people have seen pale silhouettes appear in the upper windows, lingering as though observing the world outside. These figures materialize even when the mansion is completely empty, their outlines faint and unmoving. Some describe the shape of a woman in period clothing, her posture straight and dignified, standing behind the glass as if waiting for someone to arrive. Others have seen multiple shapes clustered together in one window, staring downward in silent unity. Many guests claim that these apparitions vanish the instant you blink or turn your head. Inside the mansion, a softness settles in the air, as though the atmosphere carries its own quiet breath. The faintest sounds of whispers, shuffling footsteps, or a gentle exhale seem to drift through hallways without warning. One of the most unforgettable experiences for visitors is a faint sound of laughter echoing from distant rooms. These are not echoes from the present, but remnants of a world long gone. Sometimes the laughter is high and childish, like children playing hide-and-seek. At other times, it is the deeper, polite murmur of adults engaged in lively conversation, as though the mansion's past inhabitants are entertaining guests once more. Even more chilling is the unexplained piano music. Guests touring the mansion have paused mid-step when soft notes resonate from the parlor, drifting upward like a slow, melancholy tune. The piano in the mansion is well-maintained, but usually untouched. Yet the music seems to emanate from it at unpredictable times. Staff have rushed to check the room during these moments, only to find it empty, the keys still and silent. Some claim the melody sounds like a waltz, while others describe it as a gentle practice tune, as if someone from another century is seated at the bench, rehearsing a passage again and again. The upstairs chambers are the heart of the Mansiona's supernatural activity. These rooms are often warm during tours, but certain spots become inexplicably colder. Pockets of icy air that settle suddenly and vanish just as quickly. Guests standing in these cold spots report feeling a tingling sensation along their arms, as though invisible fingertips are brushing against their skin. Some have felt a sudden, sharp chill down their spine, the unmistakable impression of someone standing very close behind them. Often, when they turn around, the room is empty, yet the cold presence lingers. One of the most fascinating accounts surrounding the Bellamy Mansion is the belief that some spirits reenact scenes from antebellum life. People have witnessed fleeting images of women in long skirts gliding through hallways, carrying baskets or adjusting their shawls as if preparing for the dire tasks. These apparitions move with a sense of routine, never acknowledging the living. At times, guests have seen the faint projection of a man in a tailored coat, standing in the doorway of the library as though deep in thought. These moments vanish quickly, leaving the observer questioning whether they truly saw a ghost or merely a fragment of memory playing out in the air. In the service quarters, the energy shifts. The old slave quarters and workspaces hold memories of hardship and long labor, and visitors feel an unmistakable heaviness in these areas. Echoes of soft humming work songs or lullabies sometimes rise in the stillness. Staff cleaning the rooms late in the day have heard footsteps behind them, only to turn and find no one there. These steps are gentle but purposeful, as if someone is still carrying out daily chores from a past life. Just out of clear view, a handful of visitors even report feeling as though they are being guided up the stairs, gently but firmly, by a presence that remains unseen. Despite the eerie encounters, the spirits of Bellamy Mansion do not seem malevolent. The energy feels more like a lingering echo of life that refuses to disappear. Laughter still rings, music still plays, and figures still move through the rooms as if the home remains alive with the patterns of daily living. For many who visit, the Bellamy Mansion leaves an impression that stays long after Theavi stepped back into the modern world. The gentle music, the fleeting shadows, the cold spots, and the spectral figures in the windows all weave together a haunting tapestry of history. The spirits that remain seem tied not by torment but by memory, forever replaying moments from a time when the mansion was filled with life, voices, and the hum of familiarity. In this grand southern home, the past still lives, breathing through its walls, echoing down its halls, and watching silently from its windows. The H. Richardson House in Brookline, Massachusetts, carries an air of quiet dignitia, broad arches, heavy stone walls, and the unmistakable Romanesque presence that made architect Henry Hobson Richardson a legend. Yet beneath its architectural brilliance lies a growing reputation for something far darker. Guests, caretakers, and historians all speak of the strange sensations that settle over them the moment they step inside, the feeling that the house is alive, aware, and watching. Those who visit often remark that the silence inside the mansion feels different from ordinary stillness. It is too dense, as if holding its breath. The echo of footsteps on the wooden floor seems slower than the steps that made them, like a delayed response. People describe walking to the corridor leading toward a library and sensing someone directly behind Thema, close enough to brush their shoulder, yet turning around always reveals an empty hallway. The atmosphere grows heavier the deeper one moves into the home, as if some unseen force is observing from shadows. Its shelves are filled with heavy leather-bound books, their pages yellow with age. The large desk, still positioned beneath the tall windows, looks almost as though it is waiting for its owner to return and continue his work. Visitors entering that room often stop abruptly, convinced someone else is already there. They describe a tall, shadowy figure that appears between the shelves for a brief second before dissolving back into darkness. Some have witnessed the silhouette gliding toward the far corner of the room, only to vanish before it reaches the wall. Those who spend time alone inside the mansion notice phantom footsteps most frequently. They echo through corridors, pacing steadily and deliberately, as though someone is conducting nightly rounds. The footsteps tend to move from the library to the staircase, pausing at the top landing, before disappearing entirely. Even more chilling is the fact that these sounds happen at predictable intervals, as if the spirit follows a routine long established in life and unwilling to break it in death. Caretakers have attempted to track the noise, walk in halls with flashlights late at night, but every time they think they have pinpointed the source, the footsteps shift somewhere else, always a few steps ahead, always just out of reach. Some open softly, as if pushed by an invisible hand, while others slam shut with enough force to shake the windows. These events occur without any drafts, without any temperature changes, and without any reasonable explanation. Guests staying for private tours often report hearing a doorknob turning slowly behind them, followed by the eerie creak of a door opening into an unoccupied room. The sound has startled even the most skeptical visitors, who insist afterward that something intelligent must be moving through those halls. But perhaps the most unsettling experiences come from those who claim to feel eyes on them, not in a casual or whimsical sense, but intensely watchful, analytical, almost territorial. People describe standing in a room and suddenly becoming aware of another presence, unseen yet unmistakably close. They feel their skin prickle, their heart rate shift, and an instinctive urge to leave immediately. Many who have toured old mansions say such sensations are normal in historic homes with heavy atmospheres. But the Richardson house takes it a step further. Here, the feeling persists even when visitors exit the room. It follows them down the hall, clinging like a shadow that refuses to release its hold. There are also stories of fleeting glimpses. A dark figure crossing a doorway, just ahead. A reflection in a mirror that doesn't match the living person standing in front of it. Or a sudden movement on the staircase when the house is otherwise empty. One former caretaker recounted locking up for the night and seeing a figure at the top of the stairs, silently watching him. Thinking someone had broken in, he shouted and rushed up, only to find nothing but darkness waiting for him. Over time, whispers have spread that Richardson himself may be the force lingering inside his creation. The theory holds that he left an imprint on the mansion so strong, that his energy remains tied to stone, and what he once designed with passion. Whatever roams the halls of the HH, Richardson House has never harmed anyone, but its existence is undeniable to those who have. The house remains a place where architecture meets the supernatural, where the brilliance of a designer merges with the lingering echo of something unseen. And as visitors walk through its dim corridors, they cannot shake the feeling that someone who never truly left, is walking silently beside them. The Monte Cristo homestead in New South Wales, Australia, rises over the landscape like a relic frozen into mere elegant, isolated, and heavy with stories that cling to its walls like a second skin. For decades, those who have walked its halls speak of an atmosphere unlike any other, the kind that seeps into the lungs and rests uneasily on the mind. Even before stepping inside, visitors feel as though the house is watching them, studying them, deciding whether they should be welcomed or warned away. The moment the front door opens, the temperature seems to drop. The air grows denser, thicker, as if someone has shut off the world outside and replaced it with something quiet and waiting. Those who enter often pause on the threshold, suddenly aware of a faint echo of soft, almost melodica like distant footsteps tapping lightly across wooden floors. No one is ever able to trace where the sound comes from. It drifts through the mansion like a restless memory. Children are said to be the most active spirits within the homestead, and many visitors report seeing small figures darting through the halls. They appear as quick shadows, sometimes pausing long enough to look back before vanishing around corners. Some guests describe hearing childish giggles echoing from empty rooms, with a faint patter of bare feet racing across upstairs corridors. The most vivid encounters involve a young boy dressed in old-fashioned clothing, standing silently at the end of the hallway, his outline blurred, as though he is fading in and out of the present moment. By the time anyone approaches, he is gone, leaving only the sense that someone very small and very lost have been watching. But not all the sounds inside the homestead are playful. Many visitors speak of faint screams that pierce the night, short and distant, but undeniably human. Sometimes the cries are sharp bursts, other times they stretch out like long, muffled wails. No one can agree whether the screams belong to a woman, a man, or a child. All they agree on is that the sound chills the blood and makes the walls feel as though they are trembling. Tour guides insist that no living person could be responsible, especially since the cries often occur long after the house has been locked and everyone has gone home. Windows throughout the mansion hold another layer of mystery. Even when the house is empty, shadowy figures appear behind a glass of dark silhouettes, standing perfectly still, watching the grounds with a patience that feels unnatural. These shapes vanish the moment anyone gets too close. Some visitors swear they have seen faces, pale, expressionless, and pressed just inches from the panes, as though something inside is desperate to be seen, or perhaps desperate to escape. Late-night photographs often reveal shapes no one noticed at the Tamiya, a hand against a curtain, the faint outline of a dress, or a face peering from a secluded corner of an upstairs window. Certain rooms in the homestead are avoided by even the bravest visitors. They carry a reputation for trapping those who enter, not physically, but with a suffocating force that tightens the chest and weakens the knees. People report stepping inside and immediately feeling unable to breathe, as if the air itself has been pulled from the room. Some describe an invisible weight pressing down on their shoulders, making their movements slow and difficult. Others feel as if the walls are closing in, inch by inch, until panic drives them back into the hallway, gasping for air. Those who stay long enough often witness a strange illusion. The house seems to shift subtly around them. Hallways feel longer than they should be. Doors seem to shift positions, and corners appear sharper and darker. People have walked into rooms they believe were empty only to suddenly feel they have intruded on a space fully occupied by something unseen. The energy inside the homestead moves like a living thing. It stretches, contracts, and reshapes its presence, holding visitors in a silent conversation they never agreed to join. One of the most chilling reports comes from those who try to leave quickly. As they rush toward the exit, they feel as though someone is walking just behind Thema, close enough to feel a cold breath on their neck or the brush of unseen fingertips against their arm. This presence does not follow them outside. Instead, it stops exactly at the doorway, as if bound within the mansiona S-walls. But the moment of crossing that threshold leaves visitors shaken, convinced they narrowly escaped something that wanted them to stay just a little longer. Despite its beauty, its historic charm, and its picturesque surroundings, the Monte Cristo homestead is a place where the past refuses to rest. The spirits within it move with purpose, watching, whispering, reaching, and wandering endlessly through rooms that no longer belong to the living. And for those who dare to step inside, the house offers an experience that lingers long after they have gone, an echo of footsteps behind them, a chill that wanted to fade, and the unmistakable feeling that something inside that mansion still remembers them. The Driscoll Mansion in Austin, Texas, stands proudly at the edge of downtown, its Romanesque arches, towering columns, and ornate detailing reflecting an era of opulence and ambition. Yet beneath its grandeur lies a darker legacy, one whispered about by guests, staff, and investigators who have stepped into its shadowed halls. Those who visit often find themselves caught between the mansiona's historical beauty and an overwhelming sense that something unseen walks alongside them. The experience usually begins quietly, with subtle chills that drift through the hallways. Guests describe sudden gusts of icy air that sweep past them without any logical source. The vents remain still, the windows sealed, yet the cold brushes against the skin like an unseen hand gliding across their arm. Some say the temperature drops so sharply that it feels like stepping from summer heat into a winter storm within the span of a single hallway. These cold spots move unpredictably, sometimes lingering in front of a portrait or drifting beside an empty staircase, as if the ghostly presence behind them wanders aimlessly through the mansion, unaware of the living guest it unsettles. Disembodied voices are another common phenomenon. People hear soft murmurs coming from empty rooms, faint conversations carried on by speakers no one can see. Some voices sound like the hushed tones of two people deep in an argument. Others resemble distant laughter or a child humming a tune. A few guests report hearing their names whispered when no one else is around. The whispers carry a sense of purposia gentle enough to avoid startling, yet clear enough to send a jolt of fear through anyone who recognizes the sound as unmistakably human. Those who follow the voices hoping to find a source discover only darkened rooms and long corridors where silence quickly swallows the sound. Shadow figures are perhaps the most unsettling encounters within the Driscoll Mansion. They appear on staircases, in doorways, or in mirrors, drifting with a slow, deliberate movement, as though observing everything around them. Guests climbing the grand staircase often feel compelled to look over their shoulders, certain someone is following closely behind. Sometimes they catch a glimpse of a dark silhouette positioned a few steps below us, still, silent, and watching. The moment they turn their heads fully, the figure melts into the shadows as if it had never existed. Those who report these sightings describe the same sensation, a heavy presence that seems curious, almost territorial, unwilling to look away even when it disappears from view. The Mansion's storied past feeds a paranormal reputation that clings to it like a persistent ghost of its own. Built during a time of wealth and ambition, the Driscoll became a place where power, politics, and personal tragedies played out behind luxurious walls. Over the decades, misfortune struck families and guests who stayed there at untimely deaths, emotional turmoil, and rumors of spirits unable to move on. These stories manifest in the lingering impressions people feel as they move through the building, a melancholy weight in certain rooms, a sense of unspoken history in the air, and unease that grows stronger the longer they linger in specific corners of the mansion. One of the most chilling experiences occurs in the long, dimly lit hallways. Visitors walking alone often hear footsteps matching their pace from behind. These phantom steps fall in perfect rhythm, stopping when they stop, resuming when they continue forward. The footsteps grow closer with each passing second, as if someone is gradually closing the distance. When they turn around, the hallway is empty, save for the faint echoes fading into silence. More than one guest has admitted to breaking into a nervous speed walk, feeling watched until they reach the safety of their room. The artwork inside the mansion contributes to the eerie ambience. Paintings of past residents and historical figures hang along the corridors, their gazes seemingly following guests as they pass. People often feel uneasy near these portraits, insisting that the eyes shift or the expressions change subtly depending on the angle. Some claim to see faint movements reflected in the glass from Misa, shadows darting behind them, or shapes emerging briefly before vanishing. While skeptics dismiss these experiences as tricks of lighting, those who felt the watching eyes insist the phenomenon is far too deliberate to be coincidence. Certain rooms carry a stronger energy than others. The atmosphere in these spaces grows tight, pressing against the chest with an invisible weight. Guests speak of entering such rooms only to feel immediately unwelcome, as though crossing a boundary meant only for the unseen. They describe headaches, sudden dizziness, or a wave of sorrow that clings to them without explanation. Some even retreat moments after stepping inside, convinced they have disrupted something that was not meant to be disturbed. Nighttime is when the mansion's energy peaks. The hallways grow quieter, the lights seem dimmer, and the shadows stretch longer across the floors. Guests lying in bed hear faint tapping against the walls, soft knocking at their doors, or the sound of someone walking outside their rooms. Some awaken to find their belongings moved or the feeling of someone sitting at the edge of the bed. These moments leave them wide-eyed and breathless, unsure whether they had dreamed or truly encountered one of the mansion's lingering spirits. The Driscoll mansion remains a place of luxury, history, and elegance, but beneath its polished exterior lies a world of restless echoes. Each cold gust, each whisper, each shadow slipping through the corner of sight carries the weight of its pasta. Reminders that time has not quieted the souls that wander its halls. Those who visit leave a mixture of awe and unease, knowing they walk beside stories still unfolding in the silence of the Mansion's storied walls. The Waverly Mansion in Mississippi rises from its grounds like a frozen fragment of the Victorian era, its grand columns and towering cupolas standing in quiet contrast to the thick woods that surround it. The mansion's grand columns and towering cupolas standing in quiet contrast to the thick woods that surround it. Visitors talk of an atmosphere that shifts the moment they cross the threshold of thick air, a faint chill, and a sense of being quietly observed by eyes they cannot see. The home's tragic history lingers like a shadow across every room. Built with elegance and ambition, the mansion once held grand parties, lively gatherings in the hopes of the families who lived there. But it also bore witness to grief, misfortune, and the lives of servants whose stories were lost to time. Many believe their lingering sorrow and restless energy now form the ghostly presence that moves through the halls. One of the most frequently seen apparitions is a woman dressed in full Victorian attire. She appears on the upstairs balcony, standing still as if waiting for someone who never arrives. Witnesses describe her gown in remarkable detail of layers of dark fabric, delicate lace sleeves, and the faint shimmer of old-fashioned jewelry. Her face remains blurred, always turned slightly away, drifts backward into shadows, and disappears as though she had never been there at all. Is that of a former owner. Have reported seeing a tall man in an old-fashioned suit, his footsteps completely silent as he moves across the polished floor. He is often seen near the staircase, gazing upward or resting his hand on the banister. Those who witness him say his presence feels weighty and authoritative, as if he is still watching over the home he loved, unwilling to relinquish control even in death. And some say their spirits remain just as busy. People hear the faint rustle of skirts sweeping across the floor, the hurried shuffle of feet, or the quiet clinking of dishes from the kitchen long after the room has been cleaned and locked. A few visitors have even reported seeing a shadowy figure bending over a hearth, or carrying something through the dining room aisle to vanish in the moment they try to look directly at it. Objects have a habit of moving on their own in Waverly Mansion. Chairs slide from their original positions, sometimes scraping loudly enough to startle visitors. Candles tilt without any breeze, as though someone brushed past them. Small items left on tables shift to entirely new locations within minutes. Some believe these movements are playful gestures from energetic spirits, while others think the ghosts are trying to send subtle messages through the quiet rearranging of the living world. Perhaps the most unnerving phenomenon is the sound of creaking floors in rooms where no one is present. During the quietest hours of the afternoon or in the middle of the night, footsteps travel across the upstairs hallway as slow, steady, and deliberate. They move from one end of the house to the other, pause outside certain doors, and resume as if pacing or checking on long-forgotten tasks. The footsteps are distinct enough that visitors often call out, thinking someone from the tour has wandered off. But every time, the upper floor stands empty. There are also reports of a small Childa-esque spirit roaming the mansion. Guests have heard soft laughing echoing through a stairwell, or the light tapping of tiny feet racing down the hallway. Some claim to have seen a child dart behind furniture, only to find nothing when they follow. A few visitors have described the faint sensation of a small hand brushing against their leg, as though a child was simply trying to get their attention. Rooms that once held intense emotion seem to store the lingering energy of their past inhabitants. The upstairs bedrooms often feel charged, filled with an invisible weight that presses subtly on the chest. People walk in and suddenly grow quiet, feeling as though the room is holding a story it wants to share but cannot speak aloud. The old nursery carries a mixture of warmth and sorrow. Some feel comforted there, while others sense a deep loneliness trapped in the walls. Nighttime intensifies the mansione-esque ghostly activity. Lights flicker in empty rooms, shadows gather in corners, and soft murmurs drift through corridors like echoes from another era. Visitors sleeping nearby describe waking suddenly, convinced someone was standing over them or walking down the hall outside their door. These encounters leave an imprint, an uneasy blend of curiosity and dread. The Waverly Mansion stands as more than a historical relic. It is a home where time folds on itself, where echoes of the past mingle with the present. Their presence doesn't feel malicious, only restless, watchful, and unwilling to let go. Those who leave the mansion take with them not just memories of its beauty, but the uncanny sense that something from within its walls followed them to the threshold, lingering just long enough to ensure they truly departed. The Fairbanks House in Dedham, Massachusetts, stands as a living testament to early American history, its timber frame construction dating back to mid-1600s. The house is a marvel of colonial architecture, with low ceilings, wide wooden beams, and a sense of enduring strength. The house is a marvel of colonial architecture, with low ceilings, wide wooden beams, and a sense of enduring strength. The house is a marvel of colonial architecture, with low ceilings, wide wooden beams, and a sense of enduring strength. The house is a marvel of colonial architecture, with low ceilings, wide wooden beams, and a sense of enduring strength. The house is a marvel of colonial architecture, with low ceilings, wide wooden beams, and a sense of enduring strength. The house is a marvel of colonial architecture, with low ceilings, wide wooden beams, and a sense of enduring strength. The house is a marvel of colonial architecture, with low ceilings, wide wooden beams, and a sense of enduring strength. The house is a marvel of colonial architecture, with low ceilings, wide wooden beams, and a sense of enduring strength. The house is a marvel of colonial architecture, with low ceilings, wide wooden beams, and a sense of enduring strength. The house is a marvel of colonial architecture, with low ceilings, wide wooden beams, and a sense of enduring strength. The house is a marvel of colonial architecture, with low ceilings, wide wooden beams, and a sense of enduring strength. The house is a marvel of colonial architecture, with low ceilings, wide wooden beams, and a sense of enduring strength. But for all its historical charm, visitors consistently report experiences that defy explanation, suggesting that the spirits of its original inhabitants remain very much present, watching over the home they built and lived in. Guests who enter the Fairbanks house often speak first of the cold spots. Even on warm days, certain corners and hallways seem to hold a chill that penetrates to the bone. The sensation comes suddenly, a sharp drop in temperature that seems to wrap around anyone walking past. Some report feeling icy air brush against their arms, shoulders, or necks, sometimes followed by the faint sensation of being lightly touched by an invisible hand. These cold pockets shift unpredictably, moving from room to room as though the spirits themselves are guiding them or signaling their presence to the living. Phantom footsteps are a constant feature of the Fairbanks house. Visitors hear them echoing across the wooden floors, pacing up and down corridors, or ascending the narrow stairways that connect the house's small, interconnected rooms. The sounds are unmistakably humana steps that vary in pace, sometimes slow and deliberate, sometimes light and hurried, as though the occupants are attending to chores or moving with purpose. Many who hear these footsteps report instinctively turning to find someone there, only to face empty rooms and still floors. The footsteps often stop when the observer stops, resuming again only when they continue moving, giving the impression that the house is responding to them, aware of their presence. Whispering voices add another layer of eerie activity. Visitors and caretakers alike have reported faint murmurs drifting through the halls, sometimes overlapping, sometimes distinct. The voices are often incomprehensible at first, but certain phrases occasionally emerge as snippets of conversation, quiet commands, or even names. Some guests claim to hear family discussions from centuries past, arguments between siblings, or instructions being given to children. These voices rarely carry anger. Instead, they feel like echoes of daily life, lingering long after the original speakers have gone. The bedrooms and living areas are particularly active. Tour guides have recounted moments when a chair, left undisturbed for hours, seems to shift slightly, or a door creaks open on its own. Some visitors have witnessed objects falling from shelves without explanation, only to reappear in completely different spots when they return. The house seems to move its contents quietly, as if reminding visitors that the spaces are still shared with the unseen. The Fairbanks house's attic, accessible by a steep, narrow staircase, is a hot spot for unusual sensations. Those who venture up report an intense sense of being watched. Some describe the feeling of multiple presences lingering in the rafters above, their attention palpable, weighing on the shoulders and minds of anyone below. The house is more than a building. It is a repository of life, love, labor, and loss. Its walls seem to hold the energy of generations, from first settlers who braved the wilderness to the descendants who grew up within its timbered rooms. Every beam, every floorboard carries echoes, some loud enough to be noticed, others barely perceptible but unmistakable to those sensitive to the supernatural. Even at night, when the house is empty except for caretakers or researchers, activity continues. Doors open and close without cause. Lights occasionally flicker, and footsteps carry from one end of the house to the other. Some who stay late report seeing fleeting shapes moving across the hallways. Shadowy figures that vanish before they can be examined closely. The combination of sights, sounds, and sensations leaves visitors with an undeniable sense that the house remains inhabited, not by the living, but by those who came before. Its spirits seem deeply tied to the rhythms of domestic life, repeating patterns, movements, and conversations that define daily life in colonial America. They linger, not with malice, but with a quiet persistence, a need to continue the life they once lived, long after death claimed them. Guests who encounter these presences leave with stories of whispers, footsteps, and chilling air, experiences that create a connection between the past and the present that is impossible to ignore. The Fairbanks House, with its timbered walls and centuries of history, stands as a reminder that the past is never truly gone. Within its rooms, visitors experience glimpses of lives long ended, but still echoing, still moving, and still watching. The cold spots, phantom footsteps, and whispering voices are not just to Lisa. They are the living memory of a house that refuses to let time erase the souls who built it and called it home. The Octagon House in Washington, D.C. stands as one of the Capitola's most intriguing historic homes. Its unique 8-sided design immediately drawing the eye. Constructed in the late 18th century, the house has witnessed generations of residents, political gatherings, and moments of quiet domestic life. Yet beneath its stately exterior lies a reputation far darker than its elegant architecture suggests. For centuries, guests and visitors have reported experiences that defy logic. Ghostly figures materializing in ballrooms, doors opening and closing on their own, and sudden, bone-chilling cold drafts that seem to have no origin. The Octagon House is a place where history and the supernatural intertwine, leaving an indelible impression on all who enter. Visitors often first notice the oppressive energy upon entering the grand ballrooms. These expansive rooms, once filled with laughter, music, and dancing, now carry a different kind of presence. Some guests describe feeling watched, their every movement observed by unseen eyes. Shadowy figures have been seen gliding across the polished floors, fleeting and insubstantial, but unmistakable. Occasionally, a figure in period attire will appear in the corner of a room, pausing to survey the scene before fading into the background. These expansive rooms, once filled with laughter, music, and dancing, now carry a different kind of presence. The apparitions are usually silent, their movements slow and deliberate, giving the impression of a presence deeply tied to the space, repeating actions from centuries past. Doors in the Octagon House have a life of their own. Guests report them swinging open or slamming shut, without warning, even when the rooms are empty and windows are securely closed. Some doors seem to move just enough to suggest a presence behind them, as though invisible hands are testing their boundaries. These incidents are often accompanied by sudden cold drafts, which sweep through hallways and rooms with startling intensity. The air can drop several degrees in moments, leaving visitors shivering, even during warm weather. These drafts are not localized, and no source of airflow can account for them, reinforcing the sense that the house itself is moving and breathing around its occupants. Certain rooms within the Octagon House are infamous for the oppressive energy that seems to settle like a heavy weight. In these spaces, visitors describe a feeling of being pinned or restrained, a sensation that grows stronger the longer they remain inside. Some feel an invisible pressure on their shoulders or chest, while others report an unshakable feeling of dread that compels them to leave. The energy seems to respond to the living, reacting to movement and presence, as if the spirits within are aware of intruders in their domain. Hallways and staircases are frequent sites of unusual activity. Phantom footsteps echo across wooden floors, moving up and down stairs in patterns that no living person seems to create. Visitors walking alone report hearing these steps match their own pace, sometimes stopping abruptly when they stop, only to resume once they continue. These sounds are eerily human. The weight, rhythm, and cadence suggest someone pacing deliberately, repeating routines from a long-forgotten time. Shadowy figures often appear in peripheral vision. Guests see them at the edge of a room or in mirrors, only for them to vanish when directly looked at. Some report seeing multiple shapes simultaneously, as if several spirits occupy the same space, their movements coordinated yet invisible. Others describe fleeting glimpses of faces in windows or reflections, pale and expressionless, staring back at them with an intensity that chills to the bone. The Octagon House also carries echoes of its musical past. Some visitors have reported faint strains of piano music emanating from empty rooms, notes that seem too precise to be accidental. These sounds are soft, almost tentative, yet unmistakable, filling the air with a haunting melody. At times, the music is accompanied by whispers, fragmented conversations, or the murmur of laughter, as if a long-vanished gathering continues in a dimension just beyond the reach of the living. Rooms once used for private reflection or study often feel particularly charged. Guests report sensations of being watched over their shoulder, a sudden sense of intrusion, or the inexplicable need to leave. Some experience nausea or vertigo, a physical reaction to the dense, heavy atmosphere that pervades these spaces. Others describe fleeting touches on the arm or shoulder, brief and light, but enough to spark fear and awareness. Even in the quieter corners of the Octagon House, the past lingers. Cabinets, chairs, and tables are often observed slightly out of place, as if adjusted by hands unseen. Objects occasionally fall or tilt for no reason, reinforcing the impression that the mansion is not entirely empty. Visitors remark on the cumulative effect. The combination of ghostly sightings, shifting objects, cold drafts, and oppressive energy creates a sense that the house is alive in a way that transcends time. Despite the fear that these experiences inspire, the Octagon House continues to draw historians, paranormal enthusiasts, and curious visitors alike. The allure lies in its ability to bridge the past and the present, to allow those who enter feel the lingering presence of lives once lived within its walls. Guests leave with more than memories of architecture and historia. They carry an imprint of the house itself, the faint chill of an unseen breath, the echo of footsteps behind them, and a lingering impression of ghostly figures that will not be forgotten. In the Octagon House, history is not confined to books or plaques. It lives, moves, and watches. The ballroom still hosts silent dances. The corridors still echo with footsteps, and the rooms still breathe with the weight of the past. Visitors cannot help but feel that they are not alone, that the mansion has a memory far older than their presence, and that the ghosts of the Octagon House are always aware, always observing, and never truly gone. The Otto J. Witt Mansion in Chicago, Illinois, stands as a striking testament to early 20th century elegance, with its sweeping staircases, elaborate woodwork, and intricate detailing that reflects the wealth and ambition of its original owner. Yet beneath the mansiona's ornate beauty lies a reputation far darker than its architectural splendor suggests. For decades, visitors, historians, and paranormal investigators alike have reported experiences that defy explanation as shadowy figures roaming the grand halls, furniture moving without cause, and echoes of conversations from another time. Some even claim that a single menacing spirit with glowing eyes stalks those who wander through the Homia's dim corridors, making the mansion one of Chicago's most chilling haunted sites. Guests entering the Witt Mansion often notice an immediate shift in atmosphere. The grand halls, with their polished floors and gleaming chandeliers, feel charged with a presence that is both palpable and unseen. Many describe the sensation of being watched, a subtle pressure in the room that intensifies as they move from one space to another. Some report the hair on the back of their necks standing on end, a prickling sensation that grows stronger the deeper they explore, particularly in the upper floors and along the winding staircases where shadows seem to gather and linger. Shadowy figures are the most commonly reported phenomenon. Visitors see fleeting silhouettes in doorways, at the end of corridors, or gliding across the edges of rooms. These shapes are usually indistinct, sometimes tall and imposing, other times small and hunchada, but their presence is unmistakable. Witnesses frequently describe turning suddenly, only to find the hall empty, the shadows vanished as if they were never there. Yet the lingering feeling of being followed or observed persists, leaving many uneasy long after they leave the mansion. Guests have reported seeing chairs rock gently as if someone invisible is adjusting their posture or pacing the floor. In the most unsettling instances, heavy pieces of furniture have been observed sliding across the floor with no one near them. These movements are usually subtle, but the cumulative effect is disorienting, creating a sense that the house itself is alive and attentive to the living. Echoes of past conversations add another layer of the Mansiona's eerie activity. Guests often hear faint murmurs drifting from empty rooms, snippets of words and phrases from long-gone residents. Some report overhearing polite discussions as though a formal gathering were taking place just beyond the walls. Others hear urgent whispers or heated arguments, voices that vanish the instant one attempts to locate their source. The effect is disorienting, making it difficult to distinguish between memory, imagination, and reality. Occasionally, these voices are accompanied by faint laughter or the soft clink of glass, reinforcing the sense that the Mansiona's history continues to play out in spectral form. The most unnerving reports, however, revolve around a spirit described as having glowing eyes. Witnesses claim that this presence follows them throughout the mansion, often appearing at the edge of their vision before vanishing when looked at directly. Some describe a pair of orange or yellow eyes, glowing faintly in dimly lit corners or atop staircases. The sensation of being watched by this entity is intense and persistent. Visitors report feeling their movements mirrored, as though the spirit is tracking their every step, and a growing unease develops with each room entered. Those who encounter it describe a deep, primal fear, unlike anything provoked by shadows or sounds alone. The mansion's hallways amplify the sense of the past lingering in every corner. The wooden floors creak even when no one walks above, and the ornate ceilings seem to press down on visitors, heightening feelings of tension and vulnerability. Many report that rooms feel colder than the surrounding areas, as if the air itself has absorbed the residual energy of generations who once lived, worked, and sometimes suffered within the Mansiona's walls. Some of these cold spots are accompanied by a sensation of heaviness, like a weight pressing on the chest, making it difficult to move or breathe normally. Windows and mirrors also play their part in the haunting. Guests sometimes glimpse movement and reflections where no one stands, or see shapes pass silently across window panes. Shadows stretch unnaturally along walls and floors, disappearing when approached. Some witnesses have described seeing indistinct faces watching from the corners of mirrors, only to vanish when a reflection is studied more closely. These fleeting glimpses, combined with sounds, cold air, and unexplained furniture movement, leave many convinced that the Mansiona's occupants are not entirely of this world. Despite the fear these phenomena inspire, the Otto J. Witt Mansion continues to draw curiosity seekers and paranormal investigators. Its combination of architectural beauty, historical significance, and undeniable supernatural activity creates a space where history and haunting coexist. Those who enter often leave with a sense of awe intertwined with uneasy and knowledge that while the house is silent to the untrained ear, it speaks in whispers, movements, and shadows to those who truly pay attention. The Mansiona's legacy is a blend of grandeur and terror, a home where the past refuses to rest. Shadowy figures roam the halls, furniture rearranges itself, and the echoes of conversations long and to continue to replay in the air. And amid all of this, the spirit with glowing eyes remains the most unsettling reminder that the Otto J. Witt Mansion is not just a relic of history. It is a living, breathing testament to the presence of those who linger beyond the veil, watching, waiting, and never truly gone. The Bishop's Palace in Galveston, Texas, stands as a monument to Victorian grandeur, its ornate turrets, sweeping staircases, and intricate woodwork reflecting an era of wealth and ambition. Yet beneath its architectural beauty lies a dark history that has made it one of the most haunted homes in the South. Visitors, historians, and paranormal investigators have reported strange occurrences for decades, lights flickering or turning on in empty rooms, shadowy figures appearing at windows, and voices murmuring to the hallways when no one is present. Many believe the mansion is haunted by the tragic fates of its former residents, whose deaths left lingering sorrow and restless energy within its walls. The grand foyer, with its marble floors and sweeping staircase, exudes a palpable tension. Many visitors describe an uneasy feeling of being watched, as if unseen eyes follow every step. Some report sudden drops in temperature, cold drafts that appear without warning, brushing against arms or necks as they move through the mansion. These inexplicable chills often lead guests to realize that the house itself is alive in a way that transcends the ordinary, its energy thick and unyielding. Lights turning on in unoccupied rooms is one of the most frequent phenomena reported at the Bishop's Palace. Visitors touring the mansion have observed chandeliers flicker to life or lamps glowing softly even though no one is near a switch. Some describe the lights as responding to movement, illuminating briefly, as if drawing attention to a specific area before extinguishing again. At times, these lights cast shifting shadows across the walls, creating fleeting shapes that appear and vanish, reinforcing the feeling that the house is aware of their presence. Shadowy forms are a recurring feature throughout the mansion. Guests have seen vague silhouettes move behind curtains, along hallways, or lingering in corners of rooms. Some figures are tall and imposing, while others appear smaller, almost childlike, yet all share a sense of intent. Witnesses often describe the unsettling feeling of someone standing just outside their peripheral vision, watching silently. When they turn to confront the shadow, it vanishes, leaving only the oppressive energy behind. A few guests have reported seeing figures at windows, staring out at the grounds, only to disappear the moment they blink or shift their gaze. The hallways of the Villisca Axe Palace are especially active at night. Visitors hear whispers that seem to drift along the corridors, sometimes faint conversations, other times urgent commands or fragmented sentences. Some report hearing soft cries or laughter that cannot be traced to any living person. The voices are often indistinct, but the tone is unmistakably human, emotional, and desperate. Those who walk these hallways alone at night describe a growing sense of unease, as if they have intruded on something they were not meant to witness. The mansion's history contributes heavily to its haunted reputation. Tragedy seems woven into the fabric of the house itself. Several previous owners died under unfortunate or mysterious circumstances, and many believe that these deaths left a mark on the property. Guests often remark that certain rooms feel heavy with sorrow, as though the walls themselves remember the pain and loss endured within them. The combination of historical tragedy and paranormal activity gives the Villisca Axe Palace an aura of both beauty and dread, a place where the opulence of the past intersects with lingering grief. Furniture also appears to move of its own accord. Chairs have been observed shifting slightly from their original positions, tables tilting and objects sliding across polished floors. Some guests have described witnessing entire pieces of furniture rock or sway gently, as though being adjusted by an invisible hand. Some guests have described witnessing entire pieces of furniture rock or sway gently, as though being adjusted by an invisible hand. These movements often coincide with other phenomena, the flickering lights, the shifting shadows, or the whispersa, adding to the sense that the house is a living, reactive entity rather than a silent structure. Many visitors speak of a sense of presence that follows them from room to room. Others experience sudden chills, hair standing on end, or goosebumps that spread inexplicably across their arms. These sensations create a subtle but pervasive unease, leaving guests hyper-aware of every sound, shadow, and flicker of light within the mansion. The mansion's upper floors and private chambers are particularly active. Visitors often describe rooms where the atmosphere grows heavy and almost suffocating, as if the air itself carries the weight of centuries of emotion. Visitors often describe rooms where the atmosphere grows heavy and almost suffocating, as if the air itself carries the weight of centuries of emotion. Some experience headaches, dizziness, or a sense of disorientation when lingering too long in these spaces. Some experience headaches, dizziness, or a sense of disorientation when lingering too long in these spaces. Others report seeing ghostly figures pause at the edge of a bed, stand in doorways, or glance back from mirrors, only to vanish when confronted directly. Others report seeing ghostly figures pause at the edge of a bed, stand in doorways, or glance back from mirrors, only to vanish when confronted directly. Despite its haunted reputation, the Bishopa S Palace continues to attract visitors and historians alike. Its blend of architectural splendor, rich history, and undeniable paranormal activity makes a site of fascination. Guests leave with more than memories of grand staircases and intricate woodwork. They carry within the lingering sensation of unseen presences, the echo of voices, and the unmistakable impression that the mansion itself remembers the tragedies and lives of those who once called it home. The Bishopa S Palace stands as a testament to the coexistence of beauty and darkness. Lights flare in empty rooms, shadows move just beyond sight, and whispers echo through the hallways. The Mansiona's history of tragedy and loss continues to breathe through its walls, reminding visitors that the past is never truly gone. Those who walk its halls sense that the spirits of Bishopa S Palace are ever present, watching, waiting, and ensuring that the Mansiona's haunted legacy endures. The Longview House in New Orleans, Louisiana, stands as a testament to Southern elegance. Its sprawling gardens, grand columns, and meticulously decorated interiors reflecting a bygone era of refinement. But beneath the architectural beauty lies a darker presentia, an invisible layer of energy that has drawn curiosity, fear, and intrigue for decades. Guests, staff, and paranormal investigators alike have reported experiences that cannot be explained by wind, echoes, or imagination alone. Faint laughter drifting through empty rooms, the sound of footsteps echoing across polished floors, and figures appearing in windows or mirrors, watching silently. The Longview House is a place where history and the supernatural converge, leaving visitors with sensations they cannot easily forget. The first thing many visitors notice is the subtle shift in atmosphere upon entering the mansion. The air seems heavier, cooler, and strangely still, carrying a sense that the house is aware of their presence. Some report feeling eyes on them almost immediately, a prickling awareness that follows them as they move from room to room. These sensations are strongest in areas once inhabited by the original residents or their household staff, suggesting that the spirits have a strong attachment to the spaces where their lives were once lived. Guests often hear the light, purposeful tapping of shoes on wooden floors when no one is present. Sometimes these sounds move along the hallway, pacing slowly, sometimes quickly, as if someone unseen is going about their daily routine. Visitors often instinctively follow the sounds, only to find empty rooms, polished floors, and still furniture. The footsteps sometimes echo in patterns, tracing the outlines of hallways or circling rooms, giving the impression of presence that is both routine and persistent. Faint laughter is another recurring feature of the mansion. Visitors report hearing the soft, distant giggle of a child or the elegant chuckle of an adult echoing from rooms that appear empty. The laughter is intermittent, sometimes playful, sometimes mournful, and often seems to come from just around a corner or from behind a closed door. Guests describe a sense of warmth mixed with unease, as though they are witnessing moments of past life replaying like shadows that refuse to fade. Figures appear frequently in unexpected places. Some witnesses see shadowy shapes at windows, standing silently as if observing the grounds outside. Others glimpse faint, indistinct reflections in morose shapes that resemble residents in period clothing or household servants moving gracefully through the halls. These apparitions are often fleeting, vanishing when looked at directly, leaving only the impression of a presence that was very real, if impossible to capture or touch. The house's interiors seem especially responsive to visitors. Doors may open or close on their own, often accompanied by cold drafts that travel unnaturally through the corridors. Chairs or small objects sometimes shift slightly, as if moved by hands invisible to the human eye. Tour guides and caretakers have recounted instances of rooms that suddenly feel colder or heavier, moments when the air itself seems thick with lingering energy. Paranormal investigators visiting the mansion frequently report unusually strong residual energy readings, suggesting that past events, emotions, and activities remain imprinted on the very structure of the house. Certain rooms carry a particularly strong presence. Bedrooms, sitting rooms, and hallways near the grand staircase are often described as heavy with unseen attention. Guests report a tightening in the chest, a subtle pressure on the shoulders, or the sensation of someone walking just behind them. The atmosphere is both intimate and intrusive, creating a feeling that the house itself is alive, responding to movement, and aware of each step taken within its walls. Mirrors play a unique role in the hauntings of Longview. Visitors occasionally glimpse forms that do not belong to the living, faces appearing fleetingly, silhouettes moving across reflective surfaces, or shapes hovering just beyond direct observation. These reflections often vanish when approached, yet they leave an undeniable imprint on the observer's memory, a subtle confirmation that the mansion continues to hold the presence of those who once lived there. The mansion-esque gardens and exterior areas are not immune to activity. Guests walking along the manicured paths sometimes feel a presence moving among the hedges or see shadowy figures at windows looking outward. Even the quiet fountains seem to echo faint sounds of past gatherings, soft splashes, and muted laughter that linger in the air despite the absence of human life. The combination of interior and exterior hauntings creates a sense that the property as a whole remains animated by the lives of those who inhabited it long ago. Despite the unsettling experiences, the Longview House continues to attract visitors and researchers, drawn by its beauty, history, and undeniable supernatural presence. Its blend of architectural splendor and lingering energy creates an environment where the past and present coexist in a tangible, almost living form. Guests leave with more than memories of elaborate rooms and gardens. They carry with them the faint echoes of laughter, the feel of footsteps that follow, an impression of watchful figures in mirrors and windows. The Longview House remains a place where time folds in on itself, and the presence of ghostly servants and former residents lingers as clearly as the walls themselves. Faint laughter, mysterious footsteps, and fleeting figures are constant reminders that while the house is physically preserved, its history continues to breathe, move, and watch. For those who enter, it is impossible to ignore the feeling that the spirits of Longview remain very much alive, silently observing and interacting with anyone who dares to step inside. The Gamble House in Pasadena, California, is a masterpiece of American arts and crafts architecture, renowned for its sweeping lines, intricate woodwork, and timeless elegance. Built in the early 20th century, the home has long been admired for its craftsmanship and historical significance. But beyond the beauty of its architecture lies a reputation steeped in mystery and supernatural activity. Visitors and caretakers have reported experiences that go far beyond simple curiosity. Ghostly footsteps echoing in empty hallways, objects moving without explanation, and shadowy figures appearing in the corners of rooms. For those who explore the house at night, the sense that the past is never truly left is both vivid and unsettling. The first signs of the house's haunted nature are often subtle. Guests report a sudden drop in temperature in certain hallways, a chill that seems to wrap around them despite the warm California air outside. The silence of the rooms amplifies every sound, making even the faintest noisier the creak of a floorboard, the whisper of air through a doorframe feel significant. Many describe the sensation of being watched, a prickling awareness that someone or something unseen is following their movements, lingering just at the edge of perception. Footsteps are among the most commonly reported phenomena at the Gamble House. Visitors have heard the soft, deliberate tapping of shoes on polished floors when no one else is present. These footsteps often follow a pattern, pacing slowly along corridors or ascending and descending the stairs in rhythm. Some guests report hearing footsteps that mirror their own, stopping when they stop and resuming only when they move again, creating an unnerving sense of being trailed by an invisible presence. Others describe sudden bursts of hurried footsteps in the dead of night, as if someone unseen is racing through the halls. Objects inside the house also behave mysteriously. Chairs and small pieces of furniture sometimes shift slightly, tilting or moving across the floor without human intervention. Candlesticks and decorative items have been observed rocking or sliding from shelves. Visitors have recounted seeing doors open and close on their own, sometimes accompanied by a rush of cold air or a soft whisper. These occurrences are most frequently reported in the larger public rooms of the house, where the combination of shadow, space, and echo creates the perfect setting for the supernatural to manifest. Shadowy figures are perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the Gamble House hauntings. Guests often report glimpsing dark shapes in the corners of rooms, figures that vanish the moment they are directly observed. Some appear humanoid, tall and slender, moving slowly and deliberately. Others are less distinct, mere smudges of darkness that shift or sway as if aware of human presence. The corners of rooms, particularly near windows or along hallways, are frequently where these figures appear, as though they are watching quietly from periphery. Many visitors admit to feeling a chill or an instinctive fear when these shadows are noticed, the air seeming to grow heavier in their presence. Night amplifies these experiences. In the darkened halls and chambers of the Gamble House, the ordinary noises of the housea, creaking beams, shifting wood, the settling of the structurea take on a more sinister quality. Footsteps echo louder, shadows grow longer and more distorted, and the sense of unseen eyes observing every movement intensifies. Guests have described feeling an invisible weight pressing down as they pass through certain rooms, as if the house itself is responding to their presence, aware of their every step. Mirrors and windows play a significant role in the haunting. Reflections sometimes reveal shapes that are not physically present, faint figures standing behind the observer or just beyond the frame. Guests report seeing silhouettes pause and watch silently, only to disappear when they move closer. At windows, shadowy shapes have been observed standing outside or peering in, their forms blurred and ephemeral, leaving witnesses questioning whether they saw a person, a spirit, or simply their imagination. The house seems particularly active in areas where its original owners once spent the most time. The larger public rooms, sitting areas, and the central staircase are frequent sites of reported activity. Visitors note a sense of residual energy, as if the house retains echoes of conversations, footsteps, and movements from over a century ago. Some feel compelled to move quickly through certain rooms, while others are drawn to linger, sensing the presence of those who once walked the same spaces. Despite its haunted reputation, the Gamble House remains a place of historical admiration, open to visitors, researchers, and enthusiasts. The combination of exquisite craftsmanship and supernatural phenomena creates a unique experience where beauty and eeriness coexist. Guests leave not only with memories of the homea's intricate architecture and serene gardens, but also with lingering impressions of footsteps that seem to follow them, and shadows that watch silently, and objects that move without explanation. The Gamble House is more than a historical landmark. It is a home where the past continues to inhabit the present. Footsteps echo in empty halls, furniture shifts imperceptibly, and shadowy figures watch from corners and windows. Visitors can feel the presence of those long gone, an unseen energy that persists alongside the living. For those who step inside, the mansion is a place where history is alive, memory lingers, and the ghosts of the Gamble House move quietly among the hallways, forever watching and waiting. The Morris Jumel Mansion in New York City, New York, is one of the city's oldest surviving structures, its walls steeped in history dating back to the Revolutionary War. Originally built in 1765, the mansion has served as a home to wealthy families, a military headquarters, and a silent witness to centuries of change. Yet behind its stately Georgian FAA Section A lies a reputation for paranormal activity that has intrigued both locals and visitors for generations. Those who explore the mansion report unexplained footsteps echoing through empty corridors, doors slamming shut on their own, and cold spots that appear suddenly, leaving a lingering sense of unease. The Morris Jumel Mansion is a place where the past refuses to remain buried, and the spirits of soldiers and former residents continue to make their presence known. Guests often sense something unusual the moment they step onto the mansion's polished wooden floors. The air can feel heavy, charged with a subtle tension, and a chill sometimes brushes against the skin, even on warm days. Many describe the sensation of being watched, as if unseen eyes follow them to the grand rooms and narrow passageways. This feeling is particularly strong near the mansion's central hallways and staircases, areas where both soldiers and residents historically spent time. Visitors often feel compelled to move cautiously, their senses heightened by the intangible presence surrounding them. Unexplained footsteps are among the most frequently reported phenomena. Guests hear the distinct sound of boots or shoes moving along the wooden floors, pacing slowly or marching in rhythm. Sometimes these footsteps ascend the stairs, pause outside doors, or echo across rooms where no one is present. The sounds can be light and tentative or heavy and deliberate, often creating the unsettling impression of a soldier making rounds or a resident retracing daily routines. Visitors attempt to follow the noises typically find only empty hallways, reinforcing the mystery and intensifying the mansiona's eerie atmosphere. Doors behave in ways that defy explanation. Throughout the mansion, guests have reported doors opening and closing without human intervention. Some doors swing wide as though pushed by an invisible hand, while others slam abruptly, startling those nearby. The movement often coincides with the presence of cold spots, sudden drafts that chill the air without a visible source. These incidents give the impression that the mansion is alive, responding to those who walk its halls, or that the spirits themselves are moving through the rooms, interacting with the living world. Cold spots are a hallmark of the Morris Jumel Mansion. Visitors frequently report sudden drops in temperature in specific areas of hallways, bedrooms, and sitting rooms without any obvious explanation. The chills often seem to follow a pattern, appearing near doorways, staircases, or corners where shadows gather. Some guests describe a sensation of icy fingers brushing their shoulders or necks, while others feel a weight pressing subtly against their chest. These cold spots are so pronounced that even seasoned paranormal investigators have remarked on the strength of residual energy present throughout the home. The mansiona's long history has left behind more than just structural echoes. Many claim to see shadowy figures moving through rooms or lingering near windows. Soldiers, clad in uniforms from the Revolutionary War, have been reported pacing silently across the floors, their presence accompanied by a distinct sense of purpose. Other visitors have glimpsed former residents in period attire, standing in hallways or near fireplaces, only to vanish when approached. These apparitions are rarely aggressive but carry an unmistakable intensity, as if replaying moments from the lives they once lived. Some rooms carry a particularly heavy energy. Bedrooms, sitting areas, and the upper floors often feel suffused with a mix of tension, sorrow, and anticipation. Visitors sometimes experience dizziness, goosebumps, or an inexplicable unease while lingering in these spaces. The combination of architectural grandeur and layered history amplifies the sensation that the mansion is still inhabited by those who came before. The walls, beams, and floor seem to retain memories of past lives, echoing conversations, footsteps, and the emotional residue of both joy and grief. Mirrors and windows add to the mansiona's spectral presence. Guests occasionally see fleeting reflections of figures that are not physically present, or shapes hovering near windows, watching silently. Shadows seem to stretch and shift unnaturally, lingering just out of clear sight, prompting visitors to look over their shoulders repeatedly. These moments create a strong sense of connection to the past, as though the mansion itself preserves the spirits of soldiers and former residents who refuse to leave. Despite its chilling reputation, the Morris Jumel Mansion continues to draw visitors, historians, and paranormal enthusiasts. Its unique combination of historical significance, architectural beauty, and undeniable supernatural activity makes it a place where the past is always present. Guests leave with more than memories of elegant rooms, staircases, and period furniture. They carry the lingering sensation of footsteps in empty halls, doors that slam without explanation, and icy drafts that follow them long after they leave. The Morris Jumel Mansion stands as a living monument to history, where the echoes of war, daily life, and personal tragedy persist. Ghostly footsteps, slamming doors, and sudden cold spots are constant reminders that the mansion is never truly empty. Visitors feel the presence of soldiers and residents, their spirits entwined with the walls and floors, ensuring that the history of the house remains alive, palpable, and profoundly haunting. The Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa, is a place where history and horror intertwine. Built in the early 1900s, the house is best known for the tragic events of June 1912, when 8 members of the Moore family, along with 2 visiting children, were brutally murdered with an axe. That night left a permanent scar on the home, and for more than a century, Visitors have reported experiences that suggest the spirits of the victimsa and perhaps their killers still linger. Phantom children running through hallways, doors slamming on their own, footsteps echoing in empty rooms, and chilling whispers are all part of the Hausia-esque macabre reputation. Many who enter describe an almost tangible presence, pressing down on them and making each step feel weighted with dread. Guests often notice the first signs of the Hausia-esque haunted energy in the hallways. The wooden floors, once polished to a shine, creak beneath footsteps, sometimes echoing when no one is present. Many visitors report hearing the distinct sounds of running or dragging feet above or behind them, often following a pattern, as if invisible children are playing or perhaps replaying the last moment of their lives. The sensation is unsettling. Ida-esque not merely the sound, but the way it seems to respond to movement, moving when visitors move, stopping abruptly when they stop. The floorboards themselves seem to carry the memory of that fateful night, as though the house itself remembers and replays it. Doors are another source of unnerving activity. Throughout the house, doors swing open or slam shut without warning, sometimes startling guests mid-tour. Some doors appear to move of their own accord, while others require a gentle push, yet resist closure as if held by invisible hands. Witnesses often describe a sudden, icy draft accompanying the motion, a breath of cold air that seems far too deliberate to be natural. These occurrences frequently happen near rooms where the victims were found, suggesting that the spirits remain attached to the spaces where they met their tragic end. Voices are among the most chilling phenomena reported at the Villisca Axe Murder House. Visitors often hear faint whispers, fragments of conversation, or soft crying echoing through the hallways. Sometimes the voices call out names or repeat phrases in urgent tones, their origins impossible to trace. Others report hearing laughter eerily childlike and hollow or resonating from empty rooms, as though the children who perished are still playing caught between worlds. The combination of whispers, laughter, and cold air creates a palpable sense of presence, and many describe a heavy, oppressive feeling that seems to press down on their chests and shoulders, a physical manifestation of the lingering energy. Shadowy figures frequently make appearances within the house. Some visitors report seeing small silhouettes dart across rooms or hover at the edges of their vision. Others describe the outline of a person standing still, watching silently, only to vanish when directly approached. The figures are often indistinct, more impression than detail, yet their presence leaves an indelible mark on those who witness them. Certain rooms, particularly the bedrooms and the attic, are hotspots for these apparitions, reinforcing the sense that the house is still inhabited by more than just memories. Objects within the house also appear to move without explanation. Chairs have been observed rocking slightly. Tables tilt or shift, and personal items sometimes change positions between visits. Some guests report seeing items fall from shelves or being knocked over as if by unseen hands. These movements are subtle, but combined with footsteps, voices, and sudden temperature drops, they create an environment that feels alive with the echoes of tragedy. Even on warm summer days, certain rooms feel frigid, often accompanied by a sensation of invisible pressure, their breath cold against the neck, or that an unseen presence is hovering just out of sight. The combination of cold air, unexplained movement, and emotional weight makes lingering in these rooms a nerve-wracking experience, even for seasoned paranormal investigators. Despite its grim history, the Villisca Axe Murder House continues to draw visitors, researchers, and thrill seekers. Its notoriety has created a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural intersect. Guests leave with more than an understanding of the crime. They carry with them sensations of footsteps in empty halls, doors moving without cause, the echo of Childrina-esque laughter, and the oppressive feeling that the house itself is aware of their presence. The mansion becomes more than a site of a historical tragedia. It is a living monument to the past, one where echoes of suffering, fear, and lingering spirits remain palpable. A place where tragedy imprinted itself onto the very walls, floors, and ceilings. Visitors encounter ghostly children, hear chilling whispers, and feel the invisible weight of presences long gone. Footsteps slamming doors and moving objects ensure that the memory of that horrific night persists, and that the house continues to interact with the living in ways that are both terrifying and unforgettable. Those who step inside cannot escape the sense that they are not alone, and that the spirits of Villisca are still very much present, watching, waiting, and making sure that the story of that night is never forgotten. The Carson Mansion in Eureka, California, is widely regarded as one of the most striking examples of Victorian architecture in the United States. Its intricate woodwork, towering turrets, and ornate detailing draw visitors from across the country, eager to admire its craftsmanship and history. Yet beneath the mansiona's elaborate exterior lies a reputation for paranormal activity that has fascinated and unsettled guests for decades. Shadowy figures have been reported in windows. Phantom footsteps echo along the grand staircases, and disembodied voices call out to visitors in empty rooms. The Carson Mansion is not just a historical landmark. It is a place where the past seems to linger in ways both subtle and unsettling. Many visitors sense the mansiona's presence immediately upon entering. The air inside feels charged, heavy with the weight of history and unseen energy. Guests often describe an inexplicable chill, particularly near staircases, hallways, and corners of larger rooms. The temperature seems to shift suddenly, dropping in one area without any apparent cause, leaving those inside shivering despite the warmth outside. Along with the chill comes a palpable sense of being observed, a sensation that eyes are following their every move even when the rooms appear empty. Phantom footsteps are among the most commonly reported phenomena at the Carson Mansion. Guests have heard the distinct sound of footsteps echoing across polished wood floors or ascending grand staircases when no one else is present. The rhythm varies, sometimes slow and deliberate, as if someone is pacing, and at other times light and hurried, resembling the movement of a child running through the halls. Visitors often find themselves turning to locate the source, only to see empty rooms and still floors, amplifying the eerie atmosphere. These footsteps often follow patterns, repeating along the same hallways or landing at the top of stairs, giving the impression of a presence moving purposefully through the mansion. Windows of the mansion have been a focal point for ghostly sightings. Guests have reported shadowy figures appearing behind the glass. Sometimes they appear watching silently from the outside, other times glimpsed from within the house. These figures are usually vague in outline, human in shape, but indistinct in detail. Occasionally, the shadows appear to move with intent, crossing a window slowly or pausing as though aware of observers. When approached, the figures vanish, leaving no trace but the lingering sense that they were very much present. Disembodied voices are another frequent occurrence. Guests have reported hearing their names called in rooms that are otherwise empty, whispers drifting through hallways, and muffled conversations that seem to come from walls themselves. Some visitors describe the voices as urgent, almost pleading, while others hear them in soft, conversational tones, as though the house is replaying fragmented conversations from a long-past era. These sounds are particularly unsettling because they seem intimately tied to those hearing them, as though the house is aware of who is present and is responding directly. Furniture and objects within the mansion have also exhibited unexplained movement. Chairs have been observed shifting slightly, doors creak open without cause, and small decorative items have been reported as moving or falling from shelves. These events are subtle, often going unnoticed by most visitors, but their cumulative effect is undeniable. When combined with footsteps, shadowy figures, and chilling voices, the sensation emerges that the mansion itself is alive, subtly interacting with those who enter its halls. The mansion staircases, in particular, are hotspots for paranormal activity. Phantom footsteps often echo up and down the steps, sometimes pausing mid-flight, as if someone unseen is standing or turning to watch. Guests have reported sudden drafts along the stairways, accompanied by the faint creaking of handrails or floorboards. The combination of sounds and movement makes navigating the stairs a tense experience, with many visitors feeling as though they are not alone, even when walking carefully and silently. Some rooms carry a heavier energy than others. Certain parlors and bedrooms are described as suffused with a lingering presence that produces unease, tightness in the chest, or goosebumps along the arms. Mirrors and reflective surfaces in these rooms often seem to amplify paranormal activity. Visitors occasionally glimpse fleeting shapes or shadows that vanish when directly observed. Windows in these areas are equally active, sometimes revealing figures that appear to watch silently, only to vanish when approached. Despite the eerie experiences, the Carson Mansion continues to draw visitors, historians, and paranormal enthusiasts. Its unique combination of architectural splendor and lingering supernatural energy creates an environment where the past is always present. Guests leave with more than memories of intricate woodwork and stately rooms. They carry with them the impressions of footsteps in empty halls, shadows in windows, and voices calling their names. The mansion becomes not only a historical site, but a place where the boundary between the living and the unseen is thin and palpable. The Carson Mansion stands as a reminder that history is not confined to photographs, plaques, or architectural beauty. Within its halls, shadowy figures move, phantom footsteps echo, and disembodied voices continue to call. The mansion remains a living repository of past lives, ensuring that every visitor senses the presence of those who walked its corridors long before, watching silently, and leaving an indelible mark on all who enter. The LaLaurie Mansion in New Orleans, Louisiana, is infamous across the world, not for its architecture or elegance, but for the dark and violent history that stains its walls. Built in the early 19th century, the mansion gained notoriety due to Madame Delphine LaLaurie, a socialite. A socialite whose cruel treatment of enslaved people came to light after horrific discoveries were made following a fire in the house. Reports claim that bodies of tortured slaves were found hidden within the walls, a revelation that shocked New Orleans society and left a lasting legacy of fear. Today, the mansion is widely regarded as one of the most haunted places in the United States, with countless visitors, historians, and paranormal investigators reporting screams echoing through the night, shadowy figures moving to the halls, and violent poltergeist activity that seems impossible to explain. Guests approaching the LaLaurie Mansion often feel a palpable tension even before crossing the threshold. The air surrounding the property is said to feel heavy and oppressive, carrying an almost tangible sense of suffering and anguish. Visitors frequently report a sudden drop in temperature near the front doors, chills that sweep across their bodies as though invisible hands have touched them. This immediate unease is often the first indication that the mansion is not merely a historic site, but a vessel of lingering pain and trauma, echoing the horrors inflicted within its walls more than a century ago. Inside the mansion, phantom screams are one of the most frequently reported phenomena. These are not distant or mutita, they are sharp, anguish cries that echo through hallways and rooms, often at night when the house is otherwise silent. Visitors have described hearing repeated shrieks, sobs, or even faint chains dragging across floors, sounds that vanish when they attempt to locate the source. The intensity of the screams leaves many shaken, producing a sense of immediacy, as though the horrors of the past are being replayed for anyone who dares enter. Shadowy figures appear regularly throughout the mansion, often in areas tied to its most notorious history. Guests report seeing dark silhouettes moving along corridors or lingering near the attic and back rooms, spaces believed to have held the enslaved victims. Some figures are humanoid, tall and thin, while others appear crouched or shuffling as if confined. These shadows frequently vanish when directly observed, yet their presence is unmistakable, leaving behind only the lingering sense of being watched. The combination of shadow and historical knowledge creates a uniquely terrifying experience, but are confronting the echoes of past suffering. Poltergeist activity adds another layer of terror to the mansion. Doors slam violently without cause, objects fall or shift inexplicably, and furniture has been reported to rock or slide across the floor with no human intervention. Paranormal investigators frequently describe intense electromagnetic readings and disturbances during their visits, suggesting a highly active and reactive energy within the house. Visitors often sense these actions as intentional, almost aggressive, as if the spirits are not merely present but angry, reacting to intrusion or expressing the pain they endured while alive. Some rooms in the mansion carry a particularly heavy and oppressive energy. Hallways, bedrooms, and the infamous attic are often described as suffused with dread, producing physical reactions such as a tightness in the chest, a sense of pressure on the shoulders, or goosebumps along the arms. Many guests report difficulty remaining in these spaces for more than a few moments, feeling an invisible force urging them to leave. The combination of residual energy, historical horror, and architectural confinement intensifies the sensation that the house is alive, actively responding to those who enter. Mirrors and reflective surfaces in the LaLaurie Mansion also play a role in its haunted reputation. Visitors occasionally glimpse distorted shapes or figures that vanish when approached, their reflections appearing briefly as if trapped between worlds. Some witnesses describe seeing shadowed faces staring back at them from glass, expressions contorted in fear or pain. Windows, too, are said to reveal fleeting silhouettes of figures peering in or standing silently, adding to the pervasive sense that the mansion remains occupied by those who never left. Even exterior areas around the mansion are steeped in unease. Guests walking past the house report feeling watched, hearing unexplained footsteps behind them, or sensing a presence close enough to brush against their skin despite the absence of anyone nearby. The property itself, though grand and historically significant, seems to radiate an aura of suffering that extends beyond its walls, marking it as a place where the horrors of the past seep into the present. Despite the fear it evokes, the LaLaurie Mansion continues to attract visitors, historians, and paranormal enthusiasts from across the world. Its blend of historical notoriety, chilling architecture, and active supernatural presence creates an environment where the past is constantly alive. Guests leave with more than impressions of Greek revival facades or ornate woodwork. They carry the lingering echo of screams, the vision of shadowy figures, and the memory of objects moving without cause. The mansion is not merely a building, but a repository of human suffering, a space where history and haunting coexist in a tangible, terrifying way. The LaLaurie Mansion remains a stark reminder that the darkest aspect of human behavior can leave a mark that transcends time. Within its walls, the echoes of former slaves, the victims of torture, and the anguish of centuries past remain palpable. Screams, shadows, and violent activity ensure that anyone who enters cannot escape the weight of history pressing down upon them. The mansion is alive with memory, grief, and rage, preserving the legacy of horror for all who dare to witness it, making it one of the most feared and haunting locations in America. The Babcock Mansion in Oregon stands as a grand monument to Victorian elegance, its towering gables, ornate woodwork, and expansive rooms reflecting the wealth and ambition of its original owners. Built in the late 19th century, the mansion has long drawn visitors for its architectural beauty and historical significance. Yet behind the intricate design and polished floors lies a reputation for unexplained and chilling phenomena. Guests frequently report ghostly figures walk in the hallways, doors opening without cause, and lights flickering inexplicably. Some even claim that the mansion seems to absorb the energy of those who enter, leaving them with a pervasive sense of dread that lingers long after they depart. From the moment visitors step inside, the Babcock Mansion conveys an atmosphere unlike any ordinary home. The air often feels heavy, charged with intangible tension, and many describe a subtle pressure pressing against their chest or shoulders as they move through the hallways. Even in the daytime, certain rooms seem colder, the temperature dropping inexplicably as if the very walls are exhaling a lingering energy. Guests often report an immediate awareness of being observed, a prickling sensation that seems to follow them from room to room, growing stronger as they explore the deeper corners of the mansion. Visitors have seen faint silhouettes moving along hallways, crossing rooms, or appearing momentarily near staircases before vanishing. These apparitions are often humanoid in shape, yet their features are indistinct, giving them an ethereal, almost shadow-like quality. Witnesses describe feeling an unshakable certainty that something or something is present, even when rooms appear empty. Some guests have seen these figures pause to watch them, only to disappear when approached, leaving behind a chilling awareness of unseen eyes tracking their movements. Doors moving on their own is another frequent phenomenon. Throughout the mansion, doors have been observed opening slowly, swinging wide, or slamming shut without any human interference. These incidents are often accompanied by sudden cold drafts, an icy sensation that seems to pierce through clothing and skin. Guests describe these occurrences as unnerving, particularly when they happen repeatedly in the same rooms, suggesting a persistent presence that interacts with the living in subtle but unmistakable ways. Particularly when they happen repeatedly in the same rooms, suggesting a persistent presence that interacts with the living in subtle but unmistakable ways. Suggesting a persistent presence that interacts with the living in subtle but unmistakable ways. In subtle but unmistakable ways. Chandeliers, wall sconces, and lamps have been reported turning on or off spontaneously, sometimes casting shadows that move across the walls in unnatural patterns. Sometimes casting shadows that move across the walls in unnatural patterns. In unnatural patterns. Visitors recount moments when lights dim and flare without warning, creating a strobe-like effect that intensifies the sense of unease. These flickering lights often coincide with other phenomena, such as footsteps, moving shadows, or shifting objects, creating a layered and disorienting environment that is difficult to ignore. Creating a layered and disorienting environment that is difficult to ignore. The Babcock Mansion is said to absorb the energy of those who enter, a sensation many describe as a gradual, oppressive weight that grows the longer they remain inside. Guests report feelings of exhaustion, emotional heaviness, and almost tangible anxiety, as though the mansion feeds off human presence. As though the mansion feeds off human presence. This energy drain, combined with the visual and auditory phenomena, leaves visitors with a sense of being both watched and subtly manipulated, creating an experience that is simultaneously fascinating and terrifying. Some rooms are particularly active, including the main hall, upper-level bedrooms, and corners near staircases. In these spaces, the combination of shadowy figures, moving doors, and flickering lights is most pronounced. Visitors often report a compounding effect. The longer they linger, the more pronounced the sensations become. Cold spots intensify, whispers or footsteps grow louder, and the feeling of being observed becomes almost overwhelming. Even brief stays in these areas can leave guests feeling drained, anxious, or on edge for hours afterward. Mirrors and reflective surfaces are also said to play a role in the Mansiona-esque hauntings. Guests have reported fleeting images in mirrors that vanish when looked at directly, shadowy shapes that seem to shift as they pass by, and faint reflections that appear in corners where no one stands. Windows, too, are said to occasionally reveal silhouettes standing outside or peering in, only to vanish when approached. These visual anomalies reinforce the impression that the mansion is both alive and aware, its presence extending beyond the structure itself. Despite its reputation for supernatural activity, the Babcock Mansion continues to attract visitors, historians, and paranormal investigators. Its combination of architectural beauty, historical significance, and active haunting creates a unique environment where the past feels alive and the line between the living and the unseen is blurred. Guests leave with more than the memory of elegant woodwork and towering ceilings. They carry the lingering impression of figures in hallways, doors moving without explanation, flickering lights, and the sense that the mansion absorbs their very presence. The Babcock Mansion endures as a place where beauty and terror coexist. Shadowy figures pace the hallways, doors open and close with no apparent cause, and lights flicker as if the house itself is breathing. Visitors sense the presence of unseen eyes following them, and many report feeling an oppressive weight that drains their energy. The mansion is not merely a historical structure. It is a living testament to the past, a vessel of lingering spirits, and a place where those who enter cannot escape the sensation that the house itself remembers, watches, and continues to exert its influence over anyone who dares to cross its threshold. The Amory House in Boston, Massachusetts, is a stately historic mansion, its elegant FAA section oddity and classic architectural details reflecting centuries of wealth and refinement. Built in the 19th century, the house has witnessed generations of families pass through its halls, yet beneath its polished floors and grand chandeliers lies a chilling reputation. The mansion is said to be haunted by the spirits of former residents, their presence lingering long after death. Visitors report faint screams echoing through empty rooms, shadowy shapes moving silently along corridors, and cold gusts of air that appear without explanation. Paranormal activity is particularly concentrated on the upper floors, where the energy of the past seems strongest, leaving guests with a sense that the house itself remembers every sorrow, every secret, and every life once lived within its walls. Many guests feel a change in atmosphere the moment they enter the Amory house. The air is often described as heavy, charged with an unexplainable tension. A subtle chill can sweep through the hallways, brushing against skin even on warm days. Some visitors speak of an immediate awareness of being observed, a prickling sensation that grows stronger as they move deeper into the mansion. The feeling is especially pronounced on the upper floors, where creaking floorboards, narrow hallways, and dim lighting combine to create an environment ripe for supernatural experiences. Faint screams are one of the most commonly reported occurrences. Visitors have described hearing soft, anguished cries drifting through rooms and hallways when no one is present. These sounds are intermittent, sometimes distant and echoing, other times startlingly close, as if a ghostly presence is pacing nearby. Guests often attempt to locate the source, but the rooms remain empty, amplifying a sense of dread and the mystery surrounding the mansion. The screams carry a tone of desperation and sadness, leaving those who hear them with an unsettling impression that the spirits are trapped in the lingering energy of the house. Shadowy figures frequently appear within the mansion, particularly on the upper floors. Guests have reported seeing dark silhouettes moving along corridors, standing at the end of hallways, or pausing near doorways. The figures are often human in shape, but lack distinct features, giving them an ethereal, almost smoke-like quality. Some seem to observe visitors, vanishing when directly confronted, leaving only a lingering sense of being watched. Others glide silently through rooms or stairwells, appearing and disappearing in ways that defy explanation. The shadows are often accompanied by subtle shifts in air pressure or sudden chills, reinforcing the impression that the mansion is alive with unseen presences. Cold gusts of air are another hallmark of the Amory house hauntings. Even on calm, warm days, visitors report sudden drops in temperature in specific areas, often accompanied by a feeling of invisible hands brushing against them or a presence standing nearby. These unexplained drafts add to the house's eerie reputation, suggesting that the spirits within are not only present but actively influencing the environment. Doors and objects within the mansion also display unusual activity. Guests describe goosebumps, a tightening in the chest, and a pervasive sense of unease that grows the longer they linger. These unexplained drafts add to the house's eerie reputation, suggesting that the spirits within are not only present but actively influencing the environment. Doors have been known to open and close on their own, sometimes slowly and silently, other times slamming abruptly, startling those nearby. Small objects occasionally shift positions. Teacups tilt on tables, and chairs appear to move slightly without cause. These incidents, though subtle, combine with footsteps, shadows, and chilling gusts to create a cumulative sense that the house itself is aware of those moving within it. Visitors often remark that the mansion feels almost sentient, reacting to their presence in ways that defy logic. The upper floors of the Amory house are particularly active. Bedrooms, sitting areas, and narrow hallways seem to concentrate the paranormal activity, producing the strongest experiences of cold spots, shadows, and faint cries. Guests describe feeling an invisible pressure as they traverse these rooms, a sensation that the house is observing, testing, or interacting with them. Mirrors and reflective surfaces often reveal fleeting images or shadows, only to vanish when looked at directly, heightening the sense that the upper floors retain the most intense residual energy of the mansion's past residents. Even the stairwells and corridors contribute to the haunting atmosphere. Visitors often report footsteps echoing up and down the stairs when no one is present, as well as the subtle sensation of being followed. The combination of sound, shadow, and chill creates an environment where the past feels present, and where the spirits of former residents seem to replay fragments of their lives in endless repetition. The mansion's architecture, with its long hallways and isolated upper rooms, amplifies every sound and shadow, making even small phenomena appear larger and more foreboding. Despite its eerie reputation, the Amory House continues to attract visitors, historians, and paranormal enthusiasts. Its combination of historical significance, Architectural grandeur and undeniable supernatural presence creates a space where the past is alive. Guests leave not only with memories of ornate woodwork, grand staircases, and elegant rooms, but also with lingering impressions of faint screams, shadowy figures, and chilling cold spots. The house remains a place where history, memory, and spectral energy coexist, ensuring that the stories of its former residents endure. The Amory House stands as a reminder that some places carry the weight of those who live Vita and Jedi within them. Faint screams, shifting shadows, and cold gusts make clear that the mansion is not merely a historic structure, but a living repository of memory and presence. Visitors cannot escape the feeling that the spirits of former residents continue to inhabit its halls, particularly on the upper floors, ensuring that anyone who enters is forever aware of the unseen watchers lingering quietly in every room. The Powell House in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, is a historic gem of Georgian architecture, its stately brick exterior and elegant interiors reflecting the wealth and influence of its original owners. Built in the late 18th century, the mansion has witnessed centuries of history, hosting prominent figures and surviving the passage of time largely intact. Yet beneath its refined elegance lies a reputation for the paranormal, attracting visitors, historians, and curious thrill-seekers alike. Reports from those who enter the Powell House describe shadowy figures appearing in mirrors, phantom footsteps echoing across staircases, and doors slamming violently with no one nearby. The mansion is a place where the past and present converge in ways both subtle and terrifying, leaving guests with an undeniable sense that the house is far from empty. Many visitors sense something unusual immediately upon entering. The air inside the Powell House can feel dense, heavy with an intangible presence. Guests often describe a prickling sensation along the back of their necks or a sudden chill that sweeps through the hallways, even on warm days. The sensation of being observed is pervasive, particularly in the long corridors and grand stairwells, where echoes seem to carry just a little too far. The mansion's quiet elegance contrasts sharply with the unease that grows as visitors move deeper into its rooms, creating a tension that is both alluring and frightening. Phantom footsteps are among the most frequently reported phenomena. Guests often hear the distinct sound of shoes or boots moving along polished floors, pacing slowly or ascending and descending staircases. These footsteps sometimes appear to follow visitors, stopping when they stop and resuming when they move again, giving the unnerving impression that unseen presences are accompanying them. At other times, the steps are sudden and hurried, echoing from above or behind, only to vanish without explanation. The effect is so convincing that even those skeptical of the supernatural feel a growing apprehension as they walk the hallways of the Powell House. Mirrors within the mansion are another source of reported hauntings. Visitors often describe seeing fleeting shadowy figures in glass surfaces, figures that vanish when they turn to look directly. Sometimes the reflections appear humanoid, blurred at the edges, moving as if observing the living from another plane. Others report glimpses of a presence standing just behind them in the reflection, only to find the room empty when they spin around. These experiences create a sense that the mansion itself serves as a window to the past, where the spirits of former residents linger silently, aware of anyone who enters their domain. Doors moving on their own further contribute to the house's eerie atmosphere. Throughout the mansion, doors have been observed swinging open or slamming shut without any human touch. Some guests describe the motion as slow and deliberate, as if someone is passing through unseen, while others recount doors slamming abruptly, startling even the most confident visitors. The timing of these events often seems almost intentional, occurring when a guest is alone in a corridor or examining a room, reinforcing the impression that the house is actively aware of its occupants. These unexplained movements, combined with footsteps and shadows, leave visitors with a persistent feeling that the mansion is alive, subtly responding to their presence. The Powell House's staircases are particularly active, according to many accounts. Phantom footsteps are frequently heard climbing or descending the stairs, sometimes pausing mid-flight, producing an unnerving rhythm that echoes through the house. Some visitors report feeling an invisible presence just behind them, a weight or pressure that seems to follow as they ascend or descend. The combination of sound, shadow, and chill creates a tension that can be almost suffocating, amplifying the sense that the mansion retains the energy of centuries past. Certain rooms within the mansion carry a stronger presence than others. Long hallways, sitting rooms, and bedrooms are particularly noted for shadowy figures and unexplained activity. Guests often describe feelings of unease that grow the longer they remain, as though the energy in the space becomes heavier with each passing moment. Some report faint whispers or soft murmurs that cannot be traced to any source, while others feel subtle touches, like a brush of cold air across the skin. These experiences are never violent, but carry a profound intensity, leaving visitors deeply aware of the mansiona's lingering energy. Even the quiet corners and reflective surfaces amplify the haunting. Mirrors, windows, and darkened alcoves often reveal glimpses of figures just beyond clear sight, while hallways echo with faint, untraceable noises. Guests describe a sensation that the mansion itself remembers every life that passed through it, every conversation, every footstep, and every emotion. The combination of these phenomena creates a layered experience, where the line between history and the supernatural seems impossibly thin. Despite the unsettling experiences reported, the Powell House continues to attract visitors, historians, and paranormal enthusiasts. Its rich history and architectural elegance make it a significant landmark, while its supernatural activity adds an additional layer of intrigue. Guests leave not only with memories of ornate rooms, grand staircases, and polished floors, but also with lingering impressions of phantom footsteps, shadowy reflections, and doors that move without explanation. The mansion becomes more than a historical city. It becomes a place where the past is alive, present, and watching. Shadowy figures appear in mirrors. Footsteps echo along stairs. And doors move with no apparent cause. Visitors feel the weight of unseen eyes, making clear that the mansion is far more than just a historic home. It is a living, breathing reminder that some places retain the energy of the past, ensuring that the ghosts of the Powell House continue to inhabit its halls, silently observing every guest who enters. The Lighthorse Mansion in Virginia stands as a grand reminder of colonial elegance, its brick FAA Section A sweeping verandas and towering chimneys reflecting a history steeped in wealth, influence, and the passage of time. Built in the 18th century, the mansion has seen generations of families come and go, its halls once echoing with the bustle of daily life, celebrations, and the quiet moments of domestic living. Yet beneath its stately exterior lies a reputation for a haunting that has grown over centuries. Visitors report spectral soldiers wandering the grounds, ghostly lights flickering in windows, and voices calling from empty corridors. The mansion is a place where the past refuses to remain buried, and where the energy of history manifests in ways that are both fascinating and chilling. Guests entering the Lighthorse Mansion often feel an immediate shift in atmosphere. The air inside carries a weight, a sense of something unseen observing their every movement. Many describe subtle chills, inexplicable gusts of cold air that sweep through rooms and hallways, and the sensation of invisible eyes tracking their progress. Even on warm days, certain parts of the mansion feel cold and oppressive, as if the very walls absorb the presence of those who enter and reflect it back in uneasy forms. The tension is heightened on the upper floors, where shadowy corners and narrow hallways seem to magnify every sound and movement. Spectral soldiers are among the most frequently reported hauntings. Visitors have described seeing figures dressed in period uniforms walking the grounds, patrolling gardens, or standing silently near doors and windows. These apparitions often appear at dawn or dusk, when the mansiona's shadows stretch long across the lawns and terraces. Witnesses report that the figures move deliberately, sometimes in pairs or small groups, and vanish when approached, leaving only the lingering impression of disciplined steps and a presence firmly rooted in history. The soldier's appearances are rarely threatening but evoke a sense of solemnity, as though the mansion preserves a memory of battles fought, orders given, and lives once lived in service and duty. Ghostly lights in windows add another layer of eerie fascination. Visitors often notice small flickering glows behind closed curtains or faint lantern-like illuminations that appear in rooms no longer in use. These lights sometimes move or shift, as if following someone walking past, then disappear without explanation. Guests who investigate find the rooms empty, yet the sensation of presence remains, and the lights often recur in the same areas, reinforcing the impression that the mansion itself retains echoes of the past. Some speculate that these lights are manifestations of the soldiers or former residents, still enacting routines or watching over the estate. Voices calling from empty corridors are also a common experience for those exploring the mansion. Guests report hearing their names whispered, urgent tones carrying down hallways, or muffled conversations echoing from rooms that have been long abandoned. At times, the voices seem to call out in distress or warning, creating a sense of immediacy that is both startling and disorienting. Visitors often attempt to locate the source, but find only empty spaces, with the echoes fading into silence. The combination of sound, shadow, and cold drafts makes the mansion feel alive, as though it is replaying moments from the past of those brave enough to witness them. Doors and furniture contribute further to the Housea's spectral presence. Guests have noted doors opening or closing without cause, sometimes swinging slowly as if pushed by unseen hands, and other times slamming shut with startling force. Chairs or small objects occasionally move slightly, seemingly of their own accord. These subtle actions, when combined with footsteps, ghostly lights, and voices, create a cumulative sensation that the mansion is not simply a building, but an entity capable of interacting with the living. Visitors often describe a creeping awareness that every step and sound is observed, reinforcing the mansiona's reputation for being both alive and haunted. Hallways echo with phantom footsteps that appear to follow guests, pause outside rooms, or ascend staircases to rooms long abandoned. Guests report feelings of pressure, goosebumps, or subtle touches, as if invisible presences are brushing against them or standing just out of sight. Mirrors and reflective surfaces occasionally reveal fleeting images of figures or shapes that vanish when approached, leaving visitors with an unsettling sense that history is present in a tangible, visual form. Even the grounds surrounding the mansion carry an aura of haunting. Walkers report seeing soldiers standing among the trees or near the old stone walls, only to vanish when approached. Lanterns or faint lights appear along garden paths after dark, and soft voices seem to drift across the lawns on quiet nights. The estate as a whole seems imbued with the memory of lives long past, where every room, hallway, and garden path holds fragments of the mansiona's storied history. Despite its chilling reputation, the Light Horse Mansion continues to attract visitors, historians, and paranormal enthusiasts from across the country. Its blend of architectural beauty, historical significance, and undeniable supernatural activity makes it a place where the past is never fully gone. Guests leave not only with memories of elegant woodwork, soaring ceilings, and manicured grounds, but also with the lingering impressions of spectral soldiers, ghostly lights, and voices calling through empty corridors. The mansion becomes more than a historical city. It is a living reminder that the echoes of the past endure, sometimes visible, sometimes audible, but always present. The Light Horse Mansion stands as a testament to the intertwining of history and the supernatural. Spectral soldiers wander its grounds, ghostly lights shimmer in windows, and disembodied voices drift through its corridors. Visitors feel the weight of unseen eyes, the presence of past lives, and the subtle pressure of a mansion that remembers. The presence of past lives, and the subtle pressure of a mansion that remembers. And the subtle pressure of a mansion that remembers that those who enter never forget the lingering spirits that continue to inhabit its halls. The Hancock Mansion in Boston, Massachusetts, is a stately residence steeped in history. Its grand section ornate woodwork, and expansive rooms reflecting the wealth, influence, and revolutionary spirit of its original inhabitants. Built in the 18th century, the mansion has witnessed centuries of political gatherings, family events, and the quiet rhythms of daily life. Yet beneath its polished elegance lies a reputation that has captivated visitors for generations. It is said to be haunted by the spirits of patriotic figures and former residents. Witnesses have described shadowy figures pacing the halls, sudden cold spots that chill the air, and objects moving on their own, creating an environment where history and the supernatural seem to intertwine in palpable ways. Many visitors feel a change in atmosphere immediately upon entering the Hancock Mansion. The air is heavy, charged with subtle tension that seems to press against the body. A sudden chill may brush across the shoulders or run down the spine, even on the warmest days, and some guests report an almost immediate awareness of unseen eyes observing their every move. This sensation is especially pronounced in the hallways and upper floors. With a mansion-esque architecture, long corridors, high ceilings, and polished wooden floorsa, seems to amplify every whisper, creak, and draft. Guests often remark on a strange mix of awe and unease, as if they are walking among both history and its lingering echoes. Shadow figures are among the most frequently reported phenomena. Guests have described seeing silhouettes moving along the hallways, pacing deliberately or pausing as though lost in thought. Some figures appear in the corners of rooms, only to vanish when approached, leaving visitors with a fleeting but undeniable sense of being watched. The apparitions are often humanoid but indistinct, lacking clear facial features, which give an ethereal, almost smoke-like quality. Witnesses often feel that these figures are bound to house, replaying familiar routines from a bygone era, and that their presence is both purposeful and observant, subtly interacting with those who enter. Cold spots are another hallmark of the Hancock Mansion's hauntings. Visitors frequently report areas of sudden, inexplicable chill, often accompanied by goosebumps or a tightening in the chest. These cold pockets appear unpredictably, sometimes forming near doorways, along staircases, or in corners of rooms that have seen generations of activity. Many describe feeling an invisible presence standing nearby, a weight or pressure that seems to occupy the space just beyond perception. The cold spots often coincide with other paranormal activity, such as footsteps, shadowy movements, or objects shifting, creating a layered sense of unease that can be difficult to shake. Mysterious objects moving on their own further add to the mansion-esque reputation. Chairs may rock slightly, doors swing open or close without explanation, and small decorative items occasionally change position between visits. These occurrences are usually subtle, yet when combined with footsteps, shadows, and cold drafts, they create a cumulative effect that is deeply unsettling. Guests often remark that the mansion feels alive, as though it remembers the footsteps of past residents and reacts to those who tread in their paths. The objects seem to move with intent, sometimes aligning with areas of historical significance within the house or in response to the presence of visitors. The mansion-esque staircases are a particularly active site of reported activity. Phantom footsteps are often heard ascending or descending, sometimes stopping mid-flight as if someone invisible is pausing to observe. Guests walking the stairs frequently describe feeling an invisible weight at their side or behind them, a subtle but unmistakable sensation of being followed. The combination of shadow, sound, and sudden cold creates a tension that is difficult to ignore, and the experience often leaves even the most skeptical visitors deeply unsettled. Certain rooms, especially those that once hosted important gatherings or private quarters of the original residents, carry stronger residual energy. Guests have reported hearing muffled voices, faint murmurs, or soft conversations that cannot be traced to any source. Mirrors and reflective surfaces occasionally reveal fleeting images or distorted shadows, heightening the sensation that the mansion is not merely a structure, but a living repository of memory and presence. Windows sometimes reveal shapes standing silently just beyond glass, disappearing when approached, further reinforcing the idea that the mansion retains a strong connection to its past occupants. Despite its haunted reputation, the Hancock Mansion continues to draw visitors, historians, and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Its combination of architectural grandeur, historical significance, and active supernatural energy makes a unique destination where the past is vividly present. Guests leave with more than memories of polished floors, ornate woodwork, and historical artifacts. They carry the lingering impressions of shadowy figures pacing halls, cold spots that chill the air, and objects move without explanation. The mansion becomes more than a historic landmark. It becomes an experience of the living presence of history itself. The Hancock Mansion stands as a testament to the intertwining of past and present, history and haunting. Visitors sense the watchful presence of those who came before, their memory and energy etched into every room, corridor, and stairway. The mansion endures not only as a monument to the lives and events it has witnessed, but as a place where the spirits of the past continue to inhabit its halls. Quietly observing and interacting with those who step across its threshold, mansions are monuments to wealth and history, but for some, they are prisons for the spirits of the past. In these 25 terrifying haunted mansions, the walls whisper, shadows walk.